Suddenly, the system's notification rang in Allan's head. Ding! You successfully beheaded Franklin and Phaeton. You obtained swordsmanship level 7. Suddenly, the knowledge, skills, experience related to swordsmanship melted into Allan's brain and body. Feeling the information invading his brain like a warm current, Allan felt that his power made another leap to the next level. In terms of swordsmanship, he was a master currently. The system ranked the swordsmanship by levels. Level 1 was entry level, level 2 is a bronze swordsman, level 3 is a silver swordsman, level 4 is a golden swordsman, level 5 is a platinum swordsman, level 6 is a diamond swordsman, and level 7 is a great epic swordsman. Now, with his swordsmanship level reaching level 7, Allan was a great epic swordsman. With his current strength, he can send a flying slash that can cut a forest. Let's try it. Suddenly, his aura changed as he took out Shusui. Although Yatsufusa was sharp, it's more inclined toward its ability to manipulate its victims than actually being a sword. Shusui was more worthy of the power of a great swordsman and could demonstrate his full power using it. Allan held Shusui in his hand and waved it directly above his head. In an instant, a ray of light emerged out of his sword and turned cyan before slicing through the ceiling and continued from one ceiling to the other till it reached the top and broke free into the night sky. The clouds parted ways as if making way to the mighty slash in fear till the cyan energy disappeared. Only a few people frowned at this spectacle as they could feel this scene was caused by something or someone, while others looked at the sky in awe. Those who felt something couldn't imagine what kind of person could perform such a feat. Even Netero, who was far away in the Hunter Association building, noticed the short-lived phenomenon in the cloud. His eyes showed extreme excitement as he said with a tone full of emotions, "Such a strong sword strike that could reach the sky. Where did it come from? Who did it? I want to see." His eyes narrowed and turned into thin slits. He looked in the direction where the sword soared into the sky and said to himself, Isn't that York New City's direction?" After determining the direction, Netero left his office. On the other side of the auction hall, Allan looked at the sky in shock before he laughed. This kind of power made him feel quite confident in himself. He can completely ignore the Raiden right now. Even if all of them come together for revenge, Allan wouldn't take them seriously. Now he had a higher vision. He was looking up toward a higher goal. After a while, Allan said, "You two hide in the dark and follow me temporarily, don't show yourself. I will call you out if necessary." After saying this, Franklin and Phaeton obeyed and hid in the darkness. Although those two became puppets, their appearance hardly changed much. Without careful observation, it will be difficult for anyone to notice the difference. The reason he didn't allow them to follow him mainly because he was currently the bodyguard of the Nostrade family. If he brought those two, others would notice this easily. Therefore, in order to avoid this unnecessary trouble, Allan decided to hide them temporarily and call them when it's necessary. At this moment, Baze, Ilovekats, and Neon, who were hiding, were rendered unconscious by Allan's conqueror's haki in the battle between him and Franklin. Therefore, the three of them had no idea what happened to those two. When Allan came up to them and woke them up, Baze and Ilovekats couldn't help asking about Franklin and Phaeton's whereabout. Allan didn't tell them the truth, but he told them that he chased them away, and he also told them that the items were destroyed in the battle just now. At first, both of them were suspicious, but after looking at the after effects of the battle, they believed his words. "Let's go. Since the auction is destroyed, we have to go back. Furthermore, I think that there is an uproar outside, and most likely, the other two auctions were attacked as well," Allan said. "What do you mean, is there an attack outside as well?" Baze asked. "No one has come in for so long, which means that something happened outside. Maybe the security forces are completely wiped out by the enemy." Hearing Allan's words, Baze and Ilovekats couldn't help feeling fortunate that they followed Allan. Otherwise, they wouldn't be so lucky. Sure enough, as Allan said, when they walked out of the auction hall, they saw the members of the Mafia were scattered everywhere. All of them dead. The scene was quite frightening. It seemed like every one of the security was killed, total annihilation. As for who did this, it can only be the Ryodan. As for their current whereabouts, it's unknown. But since this place was attacked, then most likely, the other two auction halls were also attacked by them. The Ryodan, including Krilo, amounted to 13 members. There are 3 auctions tonight, so Allan believes that the Ryodan separated into 3 groups to attack all auctions at one time. The proof for his guess is that even though he killed Phaeton and Franklin, the others didn't show up till now. So it's most likely that they are scattered all around the city. Franklin and Phaeton are responsible for stealing the goods, while there should be another 1 or 2 responsible for cleaning the guards outside. After that, they would meet somewhere in this city. Allan's guess was correct, the other 2 auctions were attacked as well, and the security in both places attacked and suffered heavy losses. At this moment, a fierce battle broke out where Kurapika is, as a burly man stood in front of him with hair like a hedgehog. Kurapika was facing the 11th member of the Ryodan, Uvagan. Going back 10 minutes, inside the auction hall for the Scarlet Eye. Before the auction started, a large number of mafia gangs gathered around the building, securing it from any attack. In the building, Kurapika wore a suit and sunglasses along with his partner Melody. With his status as a bodyguard for the Nostrade family and the invitation card, he easily entered the auction. Kurapika, do you think someone will attack the auction? Inside the venue, Melody asked Kurapika, who was sitting on the side. I don't know, but maybe they will, Kurapika said coldly. Kurapika, I'm curious about something, can I ask? What is it? Kurapika's tone was still cold. Melody hesitated for a bit before she asked, Kurapika, you seem to care greatly about the Scarlet Eye in this auction. Why do you think so? Kurapika's tone warmed up a bit, but his expression was still cold. In the morning, when the captain assigned us our auctions, your heartbeats increased quickly at the mention of the eye. Later you insisted on changing the auction to come here. From the sound of your heartbeat, I could tell that you were restless, and you were kind of angry and full of hatred. So I thought that there was a connection between you and the Scarlet Eye in the auction. Hearing this, Kurapika stayed silent for a while before saying, You're amazing, Melody. You can actually know my mental state just from hearing my heartbeats. Well, I will tell you my true identity. I'm the last survivor of the Kurta clan, and those Scarlet Eyes are unique to my clan. Hearing this, Melody was taken aback. I didn't expect you to be from the Kurta clan. I remember that clan was attacked a few years ago. A few years ago, a group of people came to the residence of our clan and killed every one of them before taking their eyes. In order to take revenge and take back the eyes of my clan, I will do anything. When he said this, Kurapika was almost expressionless, but his voice contained anger and hatred. So you're here to get back the Scarlet Eye that belonged to your clan? Here. Kurapika nodded. Melody didn't ask any more questions as she could tell that Kurapika was determined about his revenge from his heartbeats. What about you, Melody? Are you a professional hunter? Kurapika asked after some time. Melody nodded. Well, I'm a music hunter. Kurapika looked at her in surprise. Music hunter? So you know music? Yes, I know how to play the flute best, and I understand rhythm and tunes. I can also write lyrics and compose music. Melody replied with pride as she was confident in her ability. I didn't think you'd be an artist. Seeing the look of triumph on Melody's face, Kurapika smiled lightly. What do you mean? Are you saying that I'm ugly? Melody could tell what Kurapika was thinking about and raised her head angrily. Kurapika quickly shook his head. No, I didn't mean that. Haha, it's okay. I know that I look ugly, and the music is beautiful, which really doesn't match my look. I don't blame you. Those words made Kurapika feel quite guilty as what he said seemed too direct and hurtful. He didn't want to mock Melody and was just surprised that she was a proficient musician. Melody didn't seem to care as she said, Actually, I'm looking for the Devil's Music note. I heard that it might appear in the auction. In order to enter the auction, I applied for the job of a bodyguard. The devil's music note? Well, to put it simply, it's a curse music score, and its name is the Sonata of Darkness. Melody explained. Kurapika frowned. Just hearing the name makes me feel uncomfortable. Well, because that music score is cursed and wasn't composed by humans, it was created by the devil, Melody said. Kurapika was surprised to hear that. Devil? Does such a monster exist in the world? Melody paused for a bit before replying, I haven't seen him, but I think devils exist in our world. Because the Sonata of Darkness is real, and there is more than one copy of it. It is said that several copies exist, 4 for piano, violin, flute. If a human plays this music, a terrible disaster will befall them. Even if you accidentally listen to it, you will get in trouble. Kurapika couldn't believe it. That seems like nonsense. How can such a terrible thing exist? Melody said seriously, it's not nonsense. What I say is the truth. My friend once played the Sonata of Darkness. At that time, he played it with a flute solo. There were 7 people, including me, present, and we listened to it. A terrible thing happened afterward. Those of us who were listening felt our bodies burning, and skin fester. My friend who played the flute was severely mutated before dying. I look like this now because I listened to the Sonata of Darkness. I was disfigured from just listening to it. Kurapika didn't know what to say. He couldn't believe it, but Melody revealed the burn marks on her body, and he couldn't say anything else. By the way, I used to look very beautiful. Melody smiled. Kurapika glanced at Melody in disbelief. The current Melody was quite ugly. That's why Kurapika was very skeptical about her being beautiful before. Melody didn't seem to care about this and said, let me show you my photo before the accident. Melody took a photo and showed Kurapika. He saw 7 people in the photo, and one of them was a beautiful girl with long hair and a fair complexion. Could this be you? Kurapika asked Melody. Melody nodded, that's me from before. Didn't I say I used to be beautiful? Well, you were really beautiful. Kurapika nodded sincerely. So, the other 6 are those friends who listened to the Sonata of Darkness? Kurapika asked. Well, the one in the middle was the one who played the score, except for her. The others were lucky enough to survive, Melody said sadly. Then where are they now? Are they looking for the copies like you? Well, yes, after what happened, the 6 of us realized that the devil's music score would bring a huge disaster to humans. So we agreed to find all of the copies and destroy them. Kurapika nodded and followed with some curiosity. Do you really think that this piece of music was created by a devil and not by a human? Melody shook her head and said, I heard the music, and I can tell you that no human can create that kind of music. The devil always feels like an illusion, Kurapika said. Melody thought for a bit before she said, devils might not exist in our world that is inhabited by humans, but it can be somewhere in the Dark Continent. Dark Continent? Kurapika felt Melody's words become more mysterious the more he listened. But Melody has no reason to lie to him, and he didn't think he was lying either. I have looked up the history books, and the Dark Continent seems to be a dark world unlike ours. There is all kind of alien creatures there, and there are no humans. According to an ancient book, whenever humans set foot there, a huge disaster would be brought back with them. Bring back a disaster? Well, a disaster capable of destroying the human world. I suspect that sometimes, humans went there and brought back the Sonata of Darkness, which is the symbol of disaster. Anyone who heard it would mutate and experience great pain, Melody said seriously. So, do you think that the Sonata of Darkness will appear in the auction? I don't know, and I just heard from a friend that the Sonata of Darkness might appear here. I'm not sure about that, but I plan to find out, Melody said. Kurapika nodded, then asked, that sheet of music is terrible, why do you still want to find it yourself? Because it is so terrible that I want to destroy it myself, Melody replied firmly. You're so great, Kurapika said. Really? Well, compared to me, Your goal is for the safety of mankind, while I'm just after revenge. Well, everyone pursues their goals. Kurapika, the pain you went through is by far greater than mine. Therefore, I will support you. I hope you find the stolen eyes of your clan, Melody said in encouragement. Kurapika nodded. He wasn't talkative, but he felt that Melody could feel his pain. During the conversation between the two, time passed, and it was exactly 9, and the auction officially started. The author took off this chapter to edit and forgot about it. So chapter 163 is skipped. Sorry. At the same time, outside, a pickup truck went out of control and slammed into the building. Without a doubt, the pickup truck belongs to the attackers. The security personnel immediately fired their guns and rifles, turning the truck into a sieve. After a while, 2 people stepped forward to check the truck. Suddenly a cold light flashed in front of them, and they couldn't see what it was. The next second, both of them fell down dead. Enemy attack. We're under attack. The guards at the scene became vigilant as they saw a Ronin samurai holding a sword and walking toward the guard like a shinigami, ready to harvest their souls. This person is Nobunaga, a member of the Ryuden. Nobunaga slashed instantly with extreme speed, killing dozens of the guard alone. However, a large number of guards swarmed the place. At the time Nobunaga was dealing with the guards, Kurapika was fighting against Uvogin. Leave the scarlet eyes, Kurapika said angrily as he waved the chains out. If you have the ability, come and get it. Uvogin grinned as he punched him. Kurapika and Uvogin continued their fight as silver chains and fists collided from time to time, causing sparks to flicker. Those chains are strong, not the ordinary kind. Uvogin once again blocked Kurapika's chains and was startled. Since a few months ago, Kurapika started developing his own Nen ability after learning from Allan. The chain in his hand is a manifestation of Nen. The chain can crush rocks and break walls, which was enough to confront Uvogin's destructive strength. Bang! 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 Uvogin was surprised, to say the least. A few months ago, he fought Kurapika and played with him, but he couldn't imagine him getting so strong after just a few months. He was angry, and his fighting spirit was ignited. Bang! 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 Big bang impact. Suddenly, Uvogin rushed forward and aimed his fist at Kurapika. Kurapika lacked experience. Even though he used his chain to defend in time, his hand broke from the destructive power of the punch as he flew away. Hey, you're only this strong? In that case, you won't be able to get your people's eyes back. Seeing Kurapika knocked away, Uvogin taunted him and looked very proud of it. Kurapika got up and raised his head to glare at Uvogin. How do you know that? Were you involved in that accident? Ah, yes, a few years ago, I did participate in the massacre of the Kurta clan. Uvogin grinned. In other words, you were a spider? Kurapika said coldly. Yes, I'm a member of the Gane Ryuden, Uvogin admitted directly. After getting this confirmation, the Nen in Kurapika's body surged out as his body trembled, not from fear but from anger. When he raised his head, his originally brown eyes were now scarlet red. Oh, scarlet eyes? It seems like you are very angry. Seeing Kurapika's eyes, Uvogin continued his provocation. 5 years ago, I was there killing the people of the Kurta clan, and their eyes would turn red from anger. Their power will be greatly enhanced when their eyes turn red. Come, let me see how strong you are when you're like that. I hope that it will be fun because I will get your eyes away after killing you as I did to your tribe. Damn you. Kurapika rushed forward as the chain in his hand slithered like a snake in the air. Boom. 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 Uvogin wasn't afraid as he waved his fists against the chain. When Kurapika activates his scarlet eyes, he will turn from a conjurer to a specialist, which makes him as strong in all the other types of Nen as his original one, and this state is called Emperor Time. The chain that Kurapika conjured wasn't an ordinary weapon but also a restriction he placed on himself. When Kurapika wasn't fighting, the chains would hide under his sleeve and connect to the rings on his hand. 5 chains for 5 fingers, and each one of them had a different ability. Amongst them, the chain connected to his thumb is called the Holy Chain, which can heal any injury, but in the process, the body's defense against Nen would be drastically reduced. Kurapika currently had 2 broken ribs from Uvogyan's punch along with his hand. He raised his hand and unhurriedly wrapped the chain around his wound. Green light burst out of the chain, directly connecting and healing his injuries. Uvogyan was greatly surprised by this since those who can heal injuries with Nen are rare, and it would require an enhancer who can increase the body's regeneration. Kurapika's injuries were healed in 2 seconds, while Uvogyan thought that Kurapika was an enhancer. But previously, his abilities were closer to an emitter or a conjurer than an enhancer. While Uvogyan was analyzing Kurapika, the latter slammed the chain on his middle finger. The chains can't be underestimated, and although he wasn't sure what type of Nen Kurapika was using, he had no doubt that the chains were covered in Nen and were quite powerful. Uvogyan directly avoided the chain and jumped away. Boom! The chain hit the ground and created a huge pit. Uvogyan wasn't someone who would stay on the defensive, and as soon as he avoided the chain, he rushed toward Kurapika. Kurapika still didn't recover his chain back, and yet Uvogyan was in front of him with extreme speed and stood his fist at Kurapika. Seeing that there was no time to dodge, Kurapika quickly raised his arm and punched back. Boom! Kurapika was knocked up in the air, and without waiting, he sent the chain again at Uvogyan. Uvogyan was going to pursue Kurapika in the air, but seeing the chain coming toward him, he moved sideways and escaped. After landing, Kurapika quickly used the Holy Chain to heal his hand after Uvogyan's punch. In a few seconds, his hand, which was almost destroyed, recovered. "You healed again?" Seeing this, Uvogyan frowned. At this moment, Kurapika spoke, "Is this your full power?" "What? That punch just now, it isn't your full power, is it?" Hearing this, Uvogyan sneered. Kurapika's tone seemed to mock him. "That punch is just about 50%, and the next one will be 80%. Uvogyan's aura burst out of his body like flames. Kurapika didn't show fear. Actually, his face didn't show any emotion at all. No matter how strong the spider is, Kurapika was confident that he could subdue him. The chain and fist once again collided. "Again, come on, release your full power." Kurapika provoked Uvogyan. "Here is full power." Uvogyan rushed aggressively while Kurapika matched him without fear. In his current state, he can exert 100% of power in each type of Nen. "This time, I will tear you to pieces. No one can withstand my full power Big Bang impact." Uvogyan raised his hand and slammed the ground. In an instant, an overwhelming force hit the ground, and the entire floor of the auction was destroyed, creating a giant hole in the building. Kurapika's figure seemed to disappear under the destructive might of the Big Bang impact. Did he die? "Hey, even if I don't hit you head-on, you can't escape my power." Uvogyan sneered, but in the next second, the smile on his face disappeared. He saw a figure appearing from the ceiling. "Bastard! You hid there?" Seeing Kurapika without as much as small injury from his full power punch, Uvogyan became furious as he wanted to rush forward. However, to his surprise, he couldn't move. His body seemed to be bound by something invisible. "What is this?" Uvogyan used Gyo and saw the chain wrapped around his body, locking him. And at the other end of the chain was Kurapika's stretched hand. "How is this possible? When did you bind me?" Uvogyan was shocked. Kurapika said coldly, "When you attacked me with your first Big Bang impact, the chain was already wrapped around you, and by using on the chain, you couldn't notice them." "Damn it." Uvogyan gritted his teeth as he intended to break the chains. However, he was shocked to find he can't use it. In addition to strong defense, Kurapika's chain can restrain the target, and once he's restrained, he would be in a state of Zetsu and can't use Nen. Right now, Uvogyan can't use his Nen, and it was almost impossible for him to break from Nen-enhanced chains using brute power alone. Capture complete. Kurapika said blankly. The Ryodan was a group of 12, each one of them had a spider tattoo with a number representing the member. Kurapika still didn't know how many others attacked the auction aside from Uvogin. Suddenly, Kurapika remembered a man and a woman. There are other two who came with you in the hunter exam, the blonde woman, Pakunoda, and the man named Krolo. Were they your companions? You only need to answer with yes or no. If Uvogin answers, Kurapika could confirm that they were indeed members of the Ryodan. However, Uvogin sneered and said, "Kill me. There is no way I will answer your questions." "I won't kill you right away," Kurapika said. "You will regret that," Uvogin sneered. Kurapika snorted coldly and punched Uvogin in the face heavily. "Even if you won't answer me, I guess that Krolo and Pakunoda are members of the Ryodan as well. Let me tell you, I will kill all of you, so you better hope that I won't find the both of them." Hearing Kurapika's threat, Uvogin said, "You want to get rid of the Gene Ryodan by yourself? You sure know how to dream." Kurapika was angered by Uvogin's attitude and once again smashed his fist into the latter's face. He continued to punch continuously with Nen-enhanced fists. At this moment, a melodious flute sound came from outside. Hearing this, Kurapika calmed down. Kurapika looked back and saw Melody standing in the distance playing her flute, which soothed his anger. "Thank you, Melody." Kurapika calmed down. Without the flute music, Kurapika was sure that he would have killed Uvogin. "Kurapika, are you okay?" Melody stepped forward and asked. "Well, I'm much better after listening to your flute." Kurapika smiled. "That's good." Melody breathed a sigh of relief and looked at Uvogin and asked, "This is the one who attacked the auction? Is he one of the people who killed your clan?" Kurapika nodded. "This guy should have another person with him. Let's take him for interrogation first. Melody, can you go get the Scarlet Eye Fist? It should still be in the auction now." Melody nodded and went backstage. After getting the Scarlet Eyes, Kurapika said, "Okay, let's go back." When they got out of the building, they saw corpses filling the place. It seems that there is another attack outside as well. Kurapika frowned, then turned toward Uvogin and said, "Your partner did this?" Uvogin didn't answer. "How many came with you? How many auctions are you after? Are you the only one responsible for attacking the auctions? Answer me." Uvogin stayed quiet. "Australian dollars whole, answer the damn question." Kurapika clenched his fist and punched Uvogin again. Even Uvogin's body, which was as hard as steel, couldn't defend against Kurapika's attacks. At this moment, he was greatly shocked because he was always confident about his body, but he felt great pain now. So, it's anger and hatred that makes him stronger? Uvogin secretly thought. "Kurapika, let's go back before interrogating him," Melody suggested. Kurapika nodded and entered the car. On the other side, Allan took Neon and left the auction place as well. Allan called Allan to ask about Neon's safety. After giving a brief report, Allan told Allan about the attacks on the other auctions. And Kurapika even managed to capture one of the attackers. When they reached the hotel, Allan asked Baze, Ivy Kolv, and Squala to look after Neon. "Is Miss Neon okay?" Allan asked immediately after they got there. "I'm the one protecting her. Of course, she is okay. Now that she is here, I asked Baze and the others to protect her." Hearing this, Allan nodded. After that, Allan followed Allan to the basement. Inside a room in the basement, Allan saw Kurapika and Melody, as well as a beaten and tied up Uvogin. Because Allan was disguised, Uvogin couldn't recognize him. But the current Uvogin had his left hand. He had no idea which helped him from the Ryodan to get a new hand. In any case, Uvogin was currently a trapped beast, and there is no way for him to escape. "Kurapika, how did you catch him?" Allan asked curiously. In fact, he already guessed that he used the chains, but he still asked. "Sure enough," Kurapika answered, "I caught him with the chains." "Well, what do you plan on doing with him?" I suggest that we hand him over to the 10 Dons because he was responsible for the destruction of their auction. No way. Kurapika directly refused. I won't hand over that person to anyone. Why? Allan asked in confusion. Because he is not only the person who attacked the auction, but also my enemy, Kurapika said blankly. Hearing this, Allan was a little surprised. Excuse me, can you please leave me alone with him? I have something private to ask, Kurapika asked all the others. They nodded and left the basement one after the other, and when it was only Kurapika and Uvogin, the former started questioning. Allan could guess what Kurapika was asking about. He wanted to know the details of the massacre of his clan and where all of their eyes were. He also wanted to know how many members does the Ryodin have and how many of the current members participated in the massacre. But regardless, Allan didn't want to intervene. Although he knew those things about the Ryodin, he didn't want trouble. After a bit, Basho was also back, but unfortunately, he was the only one to make it back. What happened? Allan asked. We were attacked when at the end of the auction. I'm afraid that all the items were stolen. Unfortunately, the others didn't make it, and I'm the only survivor, Basho said with a solemn expression. What about the security and the other guests? Allan asked. 9 out of 10 people died. Basho took a deep breath then continued, the enemy was too strong. Although we both can use Nen, they weren't normal. Everyone was like a chicken ready to be killed. Damn, who are those guys? They dare attack the auction organized by the 10 Dons. Are they crazy? Allan said angrily. At this time, Allan spoke. Basho, did you see who the person who attacked you is? Yeah. Basho nodded before describing him. The man was wearing a black suit and sunglasses, and he was about 1.85 meters high, with blonde hair. He didn't seem like a local. Allan pondered for a moment, as he knew 3 blondes in the Ryodin. There is Pakunoda, Finks Magcub, and Shanark. Pakunoda can be excluded since she is a female, while Shanark can also be excluded as he had a baby face and he wasn't that tall, so the only one left is Finks Magcub. The other one is a woman wearing glasses and holding a weapon that seemed like a vacuum cleaner. She looked harmless, but she was exceptionally vicious, Basho said. Wearing glasses, vacuum cleaner. Allan directly knew who it was, and she was Shizuku. The Ryodin failed in raiding 2 of the 3 auctions since Allan dealt with Phaeton and Franklin while Kurapika captured Uvogin. So, the Ryodin lost 3 of their members at the same time, and all 3 of them were vanguards. With that loss, the Ryodin would lose power considerably. At this time, in a building in York New City, Kurlo sat down inside a gloomy room. Phaeton, Franklin, and Uvogin are not here? They should be here already. All of them can't be contacted temporarily, and they probably encountered some accident. Finks Magcub said. Accident? Kurlo frowned. Well, they seem to have failed, and there is no trace of them at the scene. Only Shizuku and Finks Magcub came back. Where is Nobunaga? Kurlo asked as he didn't see him. Nobunaga acted with Uvogin. The former was responsible for the security, while Uvogin was to take the items and kill the people inside the building. After each deal with his responsibility, they would meet here, but since Uvogin hasn't shown up, Nobunaga went to look for him. Nobunaga just called and said that there was a fierce fight but no trace of Uvogin, and he was still outside trying to find his whereabouts. Kurlo frowned, and after thinking for a while, he said, Uvogin, Franklin, and Phaeton were responsible for taking the item. Maybe there were masters in the auction venue, which led to their failure. Magcub, is there a way to find who participated in the auction? If you can find out their personnel details so we can find the ones responsible for the disappearance of those 3. Finks Magcub nodded, yes, leave it to me, but it will take some time because most of the participants were killed. On the other side, the news of the attack on the auction reached the 10 Dons. Therefore, they immediately organized manpower and started investigating the mastermind behind the attacks, and posted a bounty on the ones who attacked the auction. Faced with the huge bounty, many started investigating the attacks. In the villa, Allan, we got the news of the bounty and directly informed the others. Boss wants us to find the attackers as well, and we will get a high bonus and the appreciation of the 10 dons. Kurapika already captured one of them, and if we hand him over, we can get the reward. You're the captain. It's up to you, but I don't think Kurapika will hand over that person, and the latter won't tell you the whereabouts of his companion. How can you tell if we don't try? At that moment, Allan followed Allan into the basement. They entered to see Kurapika beating Uvogin with a punch after the other. Kurapika, calm down, Allan said. Looking at the angry Kurapika, they knew that Uvogin didn't give any information. Take your last chance and tell me how many you are? Where are the others? Uvogin's only answer was, kill me. Well, I will kill you. Kurapika said blankly. Do you have anything to say before you die? Kurapika asked coldly. Hey, you want revenge? You're just killing yourself, my companions will come and kill you shortly. Facing Uvogin's threat, Kurapika just raised his hand, and his chain extended before piercing Uvogin's heart, ending his life. Allan glanced at Uvogin and felt a little pity. If he used Yotsufusa, he could get stronger easily. I wonder how much nen I will get using Predator from Uvogin's corpse? He glanced at Kurapika and could see that he wasn't happy even though he killed a spider. Kurapika, what do you plan to do with the body? Allan asked. I can only bury it, Kurapika said. Then, I have a suggestion. Allan thought for a bit before he said. What do you suggest? Kurapika looked at him. You want to find out who is this guy's partner, right? Allan pointed at Uvogin and said. Kurapika nodded, yes, I have a personal grievance with them. Then, instead of burying him, it would be better to hand him over to the 10 dons. They would inform the world that they already captured one of the attackers, which his partners will definitively see and come looking for the one who captured him. Kurapika thought about it before looking at Allan and said, Captain, I will trouble you to hand over this body to the auction organizers. Well, leave it to me, Allan said. Handing over Uvogin's body on behalf of the Nostrade family can gain them some favors from the 10 dons, which made Allan happy. I have contacted the 10 dons through the boss, and I will get his body to them, Allan said. In that case, I will go with you, Allan said. But, isn't your duty to protect Miss Neon? It would be better to go back to the hotel, Allan said. Miss Neon is fine as long as she stays in the hotel, and bases with her. Allan then smiled. The point is that if you, the captain, were to be caught by this guy's partners while transporting his body, do you think you can escape alone? Allan felt embarrassed, and after thinking about it, he nodded. Okay then, please go with me. I will feel more at ease with you along. Although he was the captain, Allan knew that Allan was stronger than he is, and he agreed with his logic. In that case, I'll go too. Kurapika also stepped up when Allan was about to go. Allan looked at Allan for his confirmation, and Allan nodded. Kurapika caught him and is qualified to go with us. Then, Melody, you and Basho will stay in the villa, Allan said. Captain, let me go as well, Melody said after some hesitation. She could feel Kurapika's heartbeat and mental state were unstable, and the only thing she could do is calm him down with her flute. Let her follow, don't underestimate her, Captain, Allan said. Since even Allan has spoken, Allan naturally didn't argue. The group of 4 set off with Uvogin's body in the trunk of the car. An hour later, they reached their destination. The dons are coming. Let's wait, Allan said after making a call. After waiting for a few minutes, Allan noticed strange movement on the ground, and the presence was getting closer and closer. Allan and Kurapika became alert, seeing Allan alert. Allan stared at the ground under his feet, and then something flushed out. Don't be nervous. I'm Warm, one of the shadow beasts. The monster said. Shadow beast? The direct escort of the dons? I didn't think there will be some heavyweights here, Allan said in shock. Allan looked at Worm and remembered him to be one of the small fries that attacked Uvogin and can travel freely underground. You're the bodyguards of the Nostrade family? Worm asked. They nodded. You are the ones who contacted us and said you caught one of the attackers of the auction, right? Yes, Allan said respectfully. So, where is he? Worm asked. In the trunk of the car. Allan opened the trunk. Is he dead? Seeing Uvogin lying down motionlessly, Worm frowned. He was killed during the fight. Allan didn't mention Kurapika killing him. Although he is dead, I can feel that he is very strong. Worm stared at Uvogin's body and said, then he looked at Kurapika and said, did you kill him? What's your name? Kurapika. Well, Kurapika, you need to provide details of the battle. We will follow up based on the information provided. Worm asked. This person is a member of the Genie Ryodan, and his name is Uvogin, Kurapika said. Worm was a little surprised. So, the spiders were after the attack? No wonder. Worm, do you know how many of them there are? Kurapika asked. I don't know, there may have dozens of people. Actually, this is the first time I encountered a spider. By the way, I heard that everyone from the Ryodan has a spider tattoo on their back. I want to check. After confirming that Uvogin was a spider, Worm said, thank you for your assistance. This is a great piece of information. We are now certain that the Ryodan was behind the attack. After that, Worm took out a phone from somewhere and reported what he found to the Dons. The Dons immediately started tracing the whereabouts of the spiders and offered a bounty for them. Regardless of whether you live or die, if you kill a spider, you can get from 500 million to a billion. Okay, this corpse is no longer useful. I will trouble you to deal with it. I'm now going to join the Shadow Beasts to pursue the Ryodan. If there is a need, we will contact you. After saying this, Worm burrowed into the ground and disappeared. Is the Shadow Beast gone? Allan asked as he looked at Allan. Well, he is gone, Allan said as he felt Worm move away. With the Shadow Beasts dispatched, the Genie Ryodan organization are so dead, Allan said. Allan shook his head. No, you think too little of them. Kurapika agreed with Allan's words. Yes, although this Worm person looks good, he is not as strong as Uvogin. Allan was surprised. Is the Ryodan stronger than the Shadow Beasts? The latter is a unit under the direct order of the 10 Dons, and each member is a famous killer. Kurapika didn't reply, and Allan said, anyway, it's the Shadow Beast's problem. Let's just see what happens. By the way, how will you deal with the body? Allan asked. Please help me bury the corpse, Kurapika said tiredly. The side effect of his previous battle took place, and he needed to rest. Leave it to me, Allan said. Okay, I will trouble you, Kurapika replied. Allan and Kurapika moved away, and Allan using his predator ability and started absorbing Uvogin's nen. After 10 minutes, Allan's nen increased by 20,000 points. Now, I have about 100,000 points in my normal state, and if I use all of my strength, I can reach 130,000 points. Allan estimated. Well, I no longer have a use for you. Allan raised his hand and froze Uvogin, and he shattered it completely. After this, Allan returned to the villa. In an abandoned building, Kurlo waited for the other members to return. His face was quite gloomy, and it was the first time the other members actually saw him looking like that. It's been 3 hours, and 4 members were missing. They were Franklin, Phaeton, Uvogin, and Nobunaga. They were 4 fighters, and losing them would be quite a blow to the Ryodan. Wait till 6 in the morning, and if they don't return, you guys leave temporarily. At this time, Finks Magcub said, Chief, someone posted a bounty on our heads. Everyone directly looked at Finks Magcub. Who posted the bounty? Kurlo asked in a cold tone. It's the gang belonging to the 10 Dons. Finks Magcub said, They announced that they killed a guy who attacked the auction and discovered that he was one of the genie Ryodan. If they kill any member, they can get between 500 million and 1 billion. Who was the guy they killed? Kurlo frowned. It's Uvogin. Finks Magcub hesitated as he informed Kurlo. What? Kurlo was surprised. Everyone there was shocked as well and couldn't believe this. Are you sure it's Uvogin? Kurlo asked in a deep voice. Well, they released a picture of Uvogin's body. His body was in the trunk of a car with a pale face and no sign of life. Is the picture not tempered? Kurlo asked with suppressed anger. Finks Magcub shook his head. I think it's authentic. That means that Uvogin is dead, Kurlo said with a green face. Yes. Finks Magcub nodded. He didn't feel good about the death of his comrade. The same goes for the others. They all showed a sad expression when they confirmed Uvogin's death. At this moment, the spiders were at a loss and were sad. After a while, Kurlo said, Uvogin is a strong individual, and it's not easy to kill him. It's impossible for the fellow of the 10 Dons to kill him, which means this was done by someone else. I found that the 10 Dons hired a gang by the name of Shadow Beasts, and they are supposed to be quite strong. Maybe they are the cause of this. Finks Magcub made a guess. Shadow Beast? Kurlo wasn't certain. I've heard about them. In that case, Uvogin's death and the disappearance of the others make sense. So, what should we do now? Maki asked. Find the Shadow Beast and ask for Franklin's whereabouts, then kill them to avenge Uvogin, Kurlo said. Okay then, I will go. Okay, I will head there. Finks was the first to stand up. I'm going too. The spiders who were there stood up one after the other. Finks Magcub said, Chief, what about the 10 Dons? If we don't deal with them, the bounty will stay there. Kurlo pondered for a while and said, Leave this to me. I will find someone to kill them. Find someone? The spiders were stunned. The genie Ryodan would unexpectedly look for someone to deal with their trouble? Chief, let us do it, Maki said. We have to deal with the Shadow Beasts, and we are short on manpower right now. The 10 Dons' current location is secretive, and other than the Shadow Beasts, there may be others to protect them, so it is the fastest and safest way to hire a professional assassin for the job. Who is the one you will ask for? Maki asked curiously. There are many professional assassins in the world, but when it comes to fame, then the Zoldyks are the best. Finks Magcub said. Kurlo nodded. Well, I happen to know an assassin from the Zoldyk family. If I ask him to do it, I will get a 20% discount. Even though it was a 20% discount, it will be a sky-high price. It's okay, we can make more money, but the 10 Dons must die, Pakunoda said. Although they were famous thieves, they won't let troublemakers off the hook. In addition to the trouble, Uvogin died, and some other members disappeared, so the 10 Dons must be dealt with. Kurlo took his cell's phone and made a call. Hello, Illumi? Kurlo said. Kurlo? What a surprise, you actually called me. A slightly surprised voice transmitted from the phone. Illumi, I have some business for you. I don't know if you will take it. Kurlo asked. Of course, since you're an acquaintance, you take priority if there is money, Illumi said. Then, I want you to get rid of the 10 Dons. Can you do it? Kurlo asked. Well, I can, but those old men are high up in the food chain, and it would be a little troublesome to get rid of them. The price will be high. It doesn't matter, and I will pay. I hope you can finish them as soon as possible. Well, I will give this mission priority and go right now to get rid of them, Illumi answered. Well, sorry for the trouble then, Kurlo said. After the call, Kurlo said, it's done. The 10 Dons will soon be dead. Now, go out and find the Shadow Beasts and get rid of them to avenge Uvogin. Chief, should I go too? At this time, Hisaka spoke for the first time. Of course, don't forget that you're a member as well, Hisaka, and with our combat power as low as they are now, you're needed. Kurlo glanced at Hisaka and walked out first. Hee, So the combat power now is low? That's great, and I can find a chance to fight Chief secretly now, Hisoka thought. He joined the Raiden for two purposes. The first one to get some fun as he was bored, and the second one is to fight against Krollo. However, there were at least two people always following him, so he didn't get a chance to do it. But with Yuvagin's death and the disappearance of the others, he can get his chance soon. Of course, Hisoka won't reveal his secret too soon and won't rush into this. Chief, how will we find the shadow beasts? Maki asked on the way. Krollo replied, it's simple. The shadow beasts belong to the Tendons, so as long as we cause trouble in their territory, we will attract the shadow beasts to us. This is the quickest and most straightforward way. Finks Magcub said, Chief, let me deal with this. You don't need to take action. When the shadow beasts appear, I will deal with them. Okay, you can deal with it, Krollo agreed. Krollo knew Finks Magcub's power very well. The mobs can't cause him trouble. Soon, Shanark stopped the car at an intersection. This is one of the places for the auction. Franklin and Phaeton disappeared here, Shanark said. I'll go then. Finks Magcub opened the door and directly walked toward the building. At this time, dozens of mafia members were outside the building and noticed a blond man coming over. Hey, stop, someone shouted. Finks Magcub didn't stop and walked straight toward them. Stop for me. The mafia took their pistols and pointed at Finks Magcub, and asked, who are you? If you don't stop, we will shoot. Finks Magcub sneered, aren't you guys looking for who attacked the auction? I'm one of them. What? The 10 mobs present froze when they heard this. Quick, shoot him, kill him now, kill him. We can get $1 billion if we kill him. All of them pulled the trigger one after another. However, Finks Magcub was faster than their bullets. With a bone-cracking sound, the necks of all the mafia members there cracked as they went limp on the ground. What trash! Finks Magcub looked at them in disdain. The only remaining mafia member alive was trembling, but Finks Magcub didn't attack him and said, go inform your people that we are waiting for them here. The man quickly ran away. Soon after, dozens of cars came outside the building and blocked the street. A large number of suits-wearing mafia surrounded Finks Magcub. Are you the one attacking the auction of the Tendons? Aren't you brave coming here and offering your bounty to us? Tell me the whereabouts of your accomplices, and we will let you die quickly. As soon as he said this, a shadow appeared in front of him, and with a crack, the leader who was talking died. Shoot, shoot. All gangsters present started shooting at Finks Magcub, who didn't care and started a massacre. Everywhere he passed, a crack sounded, and a man died. In less than 3 minutes, 100 gang members died. Che, no matter how many of you are here, I can kill you easily. Is there no one better here? Finks Magcub deliberately left a few alive again. One of the mobs remaining alive dared to stand up and say, you wait here. The Tendons will clean you up. Okay, I will spare your life. You go call someone, and I will wait here. Finks Magcub was arrogant and didn't put them in his eyes. The Tendons were informed immediately and soon contacted the shadow beasts. Half an hour later, Finks Magcub, who was waiting there, felt several lures approaching. Oh? They are here? Feeling them getting closer and closer, Finks Magcub released his aura as well. A dozen figures appeared around Finks Magcub, and each of them looked very weird, not resembling humans. Are you a member of the Genie Raiden? One of the shadow beasts asked. Finks Magcub sneered and glanced at them. Are you guys the shadow beasts belonging to the Tendons? All of you look ugly. You are the only one here, and you seem pretty arrogant. I want to cut your tongue off. I will pull your ears. The shadow beasts were irritated by Finks Magcub's arrogance. Faced with the threats, Finks Magcub wasn't moved at all. Before I kill you, I have a question. Some of my partners are missing, and one of them is dead. Was it your doing? The shadow beasts didn't answer. If you don't answer, then it doesn't matter. Finks Magcub stretched his arm and continued, I will just kill you all. Do you think you can kill all of us alone? One of the shadow beasts sneered as they decided to capture Finks Magcub alive and interrogate him. Who said that I'm alone here? Idiots. Finks Magcub's words made all the shadow beasts stunned, and their expression changed as they felt several auras around them. It was Krilo and the others making their presence known. Okay, let's fight. Krilo appeared, and Finks Magcub rushed up. The battle started quickly. Explosions lightened the dark sky, and in 10 minutes, the shadow beasts were dead. Finks Magcub said, I thought they are powerful, but they're just some third-rate. The battle only lasted for 10 minutes, and the result was unexpected to the riotants since they thought that the shadow beasts were strong. Krilo looked at the last member alive of the shadow beasts and asked, some of ours disappeared. Did you do it? No, we didn't catch any of you. The shadow beasts member replied feebly. Hearing this, Krilo frowned and then asked another question, then the picture of the dead spider you posted, how did you get him? That guy was killed by the bodyguard of the Nostrade family. The shadow beast replied. Are you sure they were the bodyguards of the Nostrade family? Yes, they gave us the dead body. That's all. Krilo nodded and shoved his hand into the shadow beast's chest, killing him. After killing him, Krilo said, immediately investigate the details of the Nostrade family and find out the bodyguard's location. In a hotel room, Finks Magcub quickly found all the information about the Nostrade family on the internet. Chief, the leader of the Nostrade family, is called Light Nostrade and one of the cadres of the Ritz family. I think I should mention that the reason Light Nostrade was able to climb his way up is because of the Nen ability of his daughter. Krilo frowned. His daughter's ability? Can his daughter use Nen? This lady is called Neon Nostrade and was born with a divination ability in the form of a poem. She can predict good and bad fortune that would happen to someone in a month. Finks Magcub explained. Oh? Even the well-informed Krilo didn't know about this ability, which slightly surprised him. That's really interesting. Because of this ability, many people would seek her out to look into their future. When there is something bad, as long as you obey the warnings, you can escape a catastrophe. Light Nostrade quickly climbed to his current position relying on this ability. However, this caused many people to target his daughter, and he hired a group of bodyguards to protect her from anything. Can you find the information about those bodyguards? Krilo frowned. Yes, give me a moment. After 10 minutes, Finks Magcub found every information he can about the bodyguards of the Nostrade family. The captain of the guards is called Balzaline, and the bodyguards are called Basho, Melody, Bass, Allan. Allan? Hearing this, Krilo was startled and said, Finks, is there a picture of the bodyguard named Allan? Show it to me. Yay, each of them has a photo on a website. Finks Magcub opened the picture, and as Krilo saw it, he breathed a sigh of relief and said, it seems like just a name. Just now, when he heard the name Allan, he thought it was the Allan he knew. Fortunately, it was another person. If it was the Allan he knew, it would have been tricky since he knew Allan's power and how quickly he can progress. He had no doubt that Allan can kill Uvogin. However, he didn't rule out the possibility of appearance-changing ability. Speaking of which, there is a grudge between Uvogin and Allan. Uvogin's death might really be related to Allan. Krilo frowned and said, Finks, let me see the pictures of all the bodyguards. Since they could kill Uvogin, then they are not so simple. As he looked at the pictures, Krilo's expression changed slightly. Wait, this person is... Chief, do you know him? Finks Magcub asked. Zoom in on the photo of Kurapika. After seeing him, Krilo said, I can't be wrong. It's really him. Chief, you know this Kurapika? Finks Magcub was curious. Krilo nodded and said, this Kurapika participated in the hunter exam with me, Pakunoda, and Uvogin. Pakunoda walked and took a look, then nodded and said, I've seen him. Krilo said in a deep voice, you know, Pakunoda, He passed the exam like me in the end and got a license. Finks frowned and said, "This means he is a professional hunter? This can be tricky." "He isn't an ordinary one as well. This guy has a background linked to us," Krilo said. "Who is he, Chief?" Everyone was curious now. "He is a survivor of the Kurta clan." When Krilo said this, Finks and the others were surprised. "The Kurta clan, isn't that the red-eyed tribe we wiped out a few years ago?" "Yes, Kurapika is a survivor of that clan," Krilo said. "It makes sense then that Uvogin died. That Kurapika guy is probably want to avenge his clan." Finks Magcub made a guess, and Krilo nodded and said, "I think so as well." "What's the matter with the Kurta clan? Who are they?" Shizuku asked. Maki looked at Shizuku and said, "Don't you know? Oh, you joined us later and didn't participate in that event. The eyes of the Kurta clan are hailed as one of the 7 beauties of the world. A few years ago, the chief led us, and we destroyed them and took their eyes. Thus, Kurapika is after us to avenge his clan. In other words, he hates the Ryodan more than anything in the world," Maki explained. Shizuku nodded and then mattered, "In that case, it shouldn't matter to me because I wasn't a member then." "Well, you are a member now, and that guy wants to get his revenge from all of the Ryodan, whether you participated in the massacre or not," Maki said. "So, what should we do now?" asked Shizuku. Everyone looked at Krilo, who said solemnly, "Finks, help us find the property of the Nostrade family in York New City and investigate them one by one. First, tell me the whereabouts of Neon Nostrade." "Chief, are you going to take her divination?" Pakunoda asked. Krilo nodded, "We can't act recklessly in this matter. If I go after Kurapika now, I think an accident is bound to happen. So we will find Neon and use her fortune-telling to make our plan." Half an hour later, Finks said, "Chief, I found the hotel that she is staying in." Krilo nodded and said, "Well, you guys stay here. For the time being, I will go with Maki." "Be careful, Chief," Pakunoda said. "Don't worry. I will be okay." Krilo smiled. The news of the annihilation of the shadow beasts quickly spread amongst the Mafia and the Underworld's organization. The shadow beasts were the most powerful guards of the 10 Dawns, and since they can't deal with the enemy, then the ordinary members were helpless against them as well. Therefore, the Mafia didn't dare move, but they still reported the matter to the 10 Dawns. As for the old men, they wanted to save their faces that were lost by the shadow beasts and directly hired the world's top assassins to deal with the Ryodan. This news reached Allan, and he directly informed Allan, Kurapika, and the others. The shadow beasts were lured out and were destroyed. "That's expected," Allan sneered. "I said long ago, third-rate Nen users like the shadow beasts has nothing on the genie Ryodan." "Yay, but I didn't expect them to be so strong. Now that the shadow beasts are destroyed, will they find us next? We are the ones who gave them the corpse of Uvogin, and if they discover that we did it, things will be troublesome." Allan frowned. "I think they already know that Uvogin was killed by the Nostrade family bodyguards, and they have our information as well," Allan said lightly. Hearing this, Allan's face changed. "What should we do? If they come here, we will be in trouble, and maybe the Nostrade family is done for. No, I have to report this to the boss as soon as possible." At this moment, Allan remembered something and said, "This is bad. Neon might be in danger. I will go right now." When Allan left, Krilo and Maki were already in the hotel where Neon was staying. Neon was quite angry at the moment since the auction was attacked and she didn't get any item she wanted. Squala and Ivankov felt quite angry, but they repressed their feelings as it was their duty to be here. "Miss, don't be angry. We will accompany you to the mall tomorrow. Besides, the auction festival will last till the 10th of this month, and young Miss still has an opportunity to go to the auction again." The 2 attendants, Alicia and Alami, said to calm Neon down. However, Squala and Ivankov were driven out of the room. "I don't want to see you two, just go out and stand guard. The two were angry as they obeyed and left the room. In fact, they wanted to go outside for a while, and it was better than looking at this spoiled lady making trouble all day. "What's wrong? Were you driven out by the young lady?" Baze asked Squala and Ilovekats as she returned from the bathroom. "That stubborn wayward brat is annoying, and all she knows is mess around with money," Squala complained. "If you're not happy, you can resign. No one is stopping you." Baze smiled. "Resign? No, even though protecting that brat is irritating. They pay us well, and I have a lot of dogs to feed, so I can't live without this job," Squala helplessly said. "Well, you two will just watch over her here. I'm hungry, so I'm not to have a meal, then come back later." With that, Baze left. "Remember to bring something for us, and we are hungry as well," Squala and Ilovekats said. Baze made an okay gesture before taking the elevator to the first floor. Although it was past midnight, the city was still lively, and the streets were full of people, and the shops were open. This is the city that never sleeps. On the other side, Allan was rushing toward the hotel, and suddenly, his cell phone rang. Taking a glance, he saw that Baze was the one calling him. "Hello, what's the matter?" The lady was taken away. Baze was flustered. Allan frowned and said, "What happened?" "It was a man and a woman. They killed Squala and Ilovekats, then knocked out the lady and took her away. They left by car." Allan directly asked, "Where are you now?" "At the convenience store opposite of the hotel," Baze quickly said. "Wait for me there, and I am close." A few minutes later, Allan was in front of the convenience store. "Get in and tell me what happened." Allan opened the door and let Baze in. "Nothing happened to you?" Allan asked. "I was hungry and came down to have a snack, which made me escape this. Otherwise, I would be dead like Squala and the others." Baze blushed a little. Allan nodded and asked, "Where are the ladies' caretakers?" "They are fine, but they are quite frightened," Baze said. "So? What should we do now? Do we call the others and go rescue the lady?" Baze asked nervously. "Thing. Make a choice. 1. Rescue Neon. Reward, Star Platinum, 1. 2. Call the other bodyguard and go together to rescue Neon. Reward, TN. The author didn't write this one. 3. The risk is too great. Let nature take its course. Reward, increase NEN by 2000 points. Allan didn't even hesitate a second and chose the first option. It was his job to rescue Neon, and the reward was just a bonus. Allan glanced at Baze and asked, "Do you know which way they went?" "I remember the car's plate number, and they were headed to the West Street. If we chase after them now, we might be able to catch up," Baze said. "Okay, sit tight." At this moment, Allan turned the car around and chased after the Ryodan quickly. His job was Neon's safety, and since they had taken her away, he is responsible for bringing her back unharmed. Therefore, Allan wanted to rescue Neon as he didn't want the blame to fall on him and hinder any further jobs he might have in the future. Furthermore, Star Platinum is a great motivator as well. In an abandoned building, Kurlo stared at the woman in front of him. Neon was horrified as the other members of the Ryodan stood behind Kurlo and shouted, "What do you want to do?" "Shut up." Finks glared at her. "If you yell again, I will pull your tongue out." Neon closed her mouth obediently as she was scared of Finks. She realized that if she dared to disobey, they would kill her. At the same time, she was guessing their identities. They the thieves or the mafia? She couldn't find the answer. But judging from the way they dressed, they didn't look like the mafia. "Before answering your question, answer one of mine," Kurlo said. "What is it?" Neon realized that this person was their leader. Kurlo looked at Neon and said, "I heard that you could predict the future. Is that true?" Neon hesitated and slowly nodded, "I can. Many people ask me to look into their future. Did you take me for that?" Kurlo didn't answer and instead asked, "Then have you used this ability on yourself?" "No." Neon shook her head, My ability can only look at other people's future, not my own. Oh? Seeing Kurlo in doubt, Neon quickly said, I'm not lying. If I can predict my future, I wouldn't have been kidnapped, because I would have been able to escape this by following the poem, but I didn't because I can't use it on myself. Okay. Kurlo could tell that she wasn't lying. I would like to ask a favor from you, if you are willing, of course. If not, then I will let you go, Kurlo said. Do you want me to help see your future? Neon asked. Yes, you're very smart. Kurlo smiled slightly. Yes, as long as you let me go, I will do it. Neon readily agreed. How accurate is your divination? Kurlo asked. It should be 100% accurate, Neon said with confidence. As long as she had that ability, no one will hurt her, but they would come and beg for help instead. Then, first tell me my fortune, Kurlo said. Neon nodded, took out a paper and pen, and handed it to Kurlo. Then please write down your name, date of birth, blood type, and address. The more details, the better. Kurlo took the pen and started filling in his information. Name, Kurlo Lucifer. Nickname, Genie Ryodan's leader. Place of birth, Meteor City. Age, 26. Gender, male. Blood type, AB+. Height, 177 cm. Weight, 68 kilograms. Hobbies, collecting treasure, looking at beautiful things, and reading books. After a while, Kurlo handed the paper to Neon, who took the paper and, after taking a look, held the pen and said, Then, I will start the divination. In an instant, Neon's demeanor changed, and her right hand holding the pen started writing quickly. Oh? Kurlo used Gyo and saw the demon appearing on Neon's hand. So, that's her ability. It's like a demon controlling her hand and writing the prophecy. Kurlo commented. Soon, Neon handed out the paper to Kurlo. Please take a look. The poem said. The calendar is missing a part, and the forgotten month will be mourned. With the orchestra's songs, and the morning close, the moon of November will pass steadily. The chrysanthemum will wither along with the leaves, lying down beside the blood-stained eyes. Even if only half of the partners are remaining, your superiority will still stand. Enjoy the time you have, or find new partners. You can go east to start again as people are waiting for you. Looking at those lines, Kurlo stayed silent as he contemplated the meaning of those words. Hey, why are you crying? Neon suddenly noticed the tears on Kurlo's cheeks. Pakunoda and Maki found tears falling down from Kurlo's eyes, and they were stunned. What exactly is the poem talking about that made the chief cry? The Ryodan members were curious about this. After a while, Kurlo wiped away his tears and said, I'm sorry. I couldn't help my tears when I understood the meaning of the poem. Chief, are you okay? I'm fine, but... Kurlo stopped for a bit before continuing. Some of you will have an accident, and this already happened. Maybe some of you will die next time. Chief, this is only fortune-telling and not the reality, Finks said. As an atheist, Finks never believe in those things. Kurlo said solemnly, I believe it because Yuvogin is already dead, and Franklin and Phaeton are missing. We can't contact Nobunaga as well, and that's for who had an accident. Hearing this, the spiders stayed silent, and the atmosphere became gloomy. Chief, I want to look at my fortune as well. At this moment, Shizuku said. Kurlo nodded and looked at Neon and said, Can you help my friends with that? Well, yes. Neon nodded as she knew she couldn't refuse. Soon, Shizuku wrote down her information on a piece of paper. Name, Shizuku Murasaki. Gender, female. Place of birth, Meteor City. Blood type, O+. Height, 160 centimeters. Weight, 45 kilograms. Nen ability, Conjurer. Number, 8. Hobbies, reading books, shopping, and collecting treasures. After taking Shizuku's information, Neon once again started writing her poem. It said, The calendar is missing a part, and the forgotten month will be mourned. In order to not leave the frost moon alone, you and your partners will splash the tombstone with blood. In a dark storage area, you're about to enter eternal sleep. Solitude is terrible, because nothing is more terrifying than being alone. After taking a look, Shizuku said, "It looks like I might die as well." Shizuku gave the paper to Kurolo, and he nodded after reading it. According to what it said, there is no doubt that it's a prophecy about death, and you're not alone in that. Because it said, you and your partners will splash the tombstone with blood. The tombstone represents death, which means, other than Shizuku, others will die as well. According to the sentence, not to leave the frost moon alone should mean that one of us has died. The frost moon mentioned should be the moon of November, the 11th month, which is Yuvalgin's number. Hearing Kurlo's analysis, the members present frowned. "I'll see my future as well," Pakunoda said. So, she started writing her information. Name, Pakunoda. Age, 27. Gender, female. Blood type, O. Height, 182 centimeters. Weight, 52. Nen ability, specialist. Hobby, traveling. Neon once again started writing and, in the end, the poem said. There is brightness in the dark, and you will make too many choices in a cramped room. As long as death lingers around you, you will have to choose glory or betrayal. It seems that I will also die, Pakunoda said after reading the poem. Based on the content inside, it seems that you will be faced with two choices, either betrayal or honor. The betrayal is undoubtedly referring to betraying the Ryodan and your companions. If you choose to betray, the god of death may give you a way out to stay alive, but if you choose to honor, you will die. This should be the meaning of your fortune-telling. Shanark became curious as well and filled his paper next. Name, Shanark. Gender, male. Blood type, O. Height, 180 centimeters. Weight, 72 kilograms. Nen ability, manipulator. Hobbies, surfing the internet, being a hacker, and collecting information. Neon once again started writing, and the result was. In the dark, death will stare at you and torment you. To avoid death's eyes, you must choose to escape the darkness. It seems that I won't be spared either. Shanark smiled wryly and said, the first sentence should mean that I will be targeted by someone who can kill me and then attacked by him, and the next one means that if I want to survive, I must flee. Kurlo's face was gloomy. Through those poems, he can tell that Shizuku, Pakunoda, and Shanark will face death. With the disappearance of Nobunaga and the others whose lives and deaths are unknown, more than half of the Raiden are facing death. Finks, Vanolanov, Kortopi, and Hisoka, please come and try. No, I don't need it. Finks refused decisively. I don't need it either because I'm an atheist, Kortopi said. The same for me, I don't believe in divination, and even if there is a god of death, I will kill him, Vanolanov said. Then, I will try, Hisoka said as he played with a card in his hand. Therefore, he started filling the paper with his information. Name, Hisoka. Age, 27. Gender, male. Blood type, B. Height, 187 centimeters. Weight, 91 kilograms. Nen ability, transmuter. Profession, professional hunter, assassin. Hobbies, playing cards, doing magic tricks, and looking for prey. Once again, Neon started writing his fortune, and as soon as Hisoka saw the poem, his expression was weird and excited. Kurlo looked at him curiously and asked, Hisoka, can you read your poem for everyone? Okay. Hisoka smiled and read his poem. The spider hiding in the darkness will be targeted by death. The 8 feet will another 2. Get out of the dark and damp cave as soon as possible because you're one of the feet as well. What does this mean? Finks asked. It probably means that we will be targeted, and if we want to survive, then we need to leave quickly, Hisoka said. Kurlo's expression was gloomier as he said, Hisaka's poem is the most informative so far. The spider mentioned is undoubtedly the Ryodan, and the 8 feet are the current members present here, each one corresponding to one leg. The damp cave is probably referring to the current temporary hideout. The last sentence means that if we want to escape this catastrophe, we need to leave, or else at least 2 members will die here. Inside the abandoned building, the atmosphere became gloomy as the poems of Neon told them that most of them are going to die. As the leader of the group, Kurlo had to make a decision as fast as he can. 1. Leave as soon as possible and avoid death and save strength. 2. Stay here and face death. Chief, what do we do? Maki asked as her instinct was going high wire, and she suggested, I think it's better to leave this place for now. Kurlo thought for a bit and said, Maki is right. From the poems, we know that we are in danger and should leave quickly. Those who want to leave can do it now, and I won't block you and blame you. Hearing this, everyone looked around, but no one of them left. However, at this time, Hisaka said, in that case, I will leave first, because according to the poem, if I don't leave this cave, I will die. Although I want to see who is this god of death, my instincts are telling me to leave. Kurlo nodded, okay, Hisaka, you can go. I hope I will see you alive soon then. Hisaka smiled and left. Watching Hisaka walking out, Finks exclaimed, Chief, you will let him go? Finks, you can leave as well, Kurlo said calmly. Chief, I won't leave, not till Nobunaga, Phaeton, and Franklin are back, and we avenge Uvogin. Yeah, Chief, if we leave like this, I will be unfair, and if we did leave, won't that make us afraid? That's not our style. The remaining members were obviously as unwilling as Finks, but no one knows if they were thinking like that at heart. Kurlo said seriously, the spider is a whole body, and in danger, something it cut off a part of itself to survive. Moreover, the purpose of divination is to allow us to avoid death. If we chose to stay here, then there won't be a purpose for taking the girl, right? At least, before leaving, let us get the guy who killed Uvogin, Finks suggested. He was truly angered about Uvogin's death. Kurlo frowned and said, we don't know if Uvogin died by Kurapika's hands. If he did, then there is a 90% chance that Kurapika is the person in the poem who will bring death to us. If we seek revenge, then according to the poem, we will suffer some losses even if we manage to kill him, which won't be worth it. Finks didn't listen. Anyways, we should find Kurapika's location, and even if he is the god of death, we will deal with him. According to the information gathered by Shanark, Kurapika is employed by the Nostrade family. It should be difficult to find his location, Maki said. Kurlo looked at Neon and asked, this girl is the daughter of Light Nostrade. She should know where Kurapika is. Do you know Kurapika? Maki looked at Neon. I don't know. Neon scratched her head. Impossible, he is a bodyguard hired for you. You should know him. Maki looked fiercely at Neon. Neon was frightened as she explained, our family hired many bodyguards, and I can't remember all of them. I only know a few. Hearing this, Kurlo said, it doesn't matter if you don't know, but you should at least know where the bodyguards are staying, right? Neon hesitated before saying, I don't know as well. I only stay at the hotel. Kurlo turned his head and said to Pakunoda, forget it, Pakunoda, sue your ability to find out the memory of the last 2 days. What are you looking for? Pakunoda asked. Bodyguards, the ones beside her, and anything that should matter to us currently, Kurlo said in a deep tone. Okay. Pakunoda nodded. What are you doing? Seeing Pakunoda walking toward her, Neon exclaimed in terror and said, I just told you your fortune, you want to kill me now? Pakunoda smiled and said, relax, I just want to get some information from you, and I won't hurt you. I can tell you whatever you want, Neon said. No, I just need to ask a question and touch you to know. Saying this, Pakunoda put a hand on Neon's head and activated her nen, and said, psychometry. By touching any part of a human or an object, Pakunoda could use her ability to see the recent memories of said human or object, and she can shoot out those memories using her memory bomb. The memory bomb is a special nan bullet Pakunoda used with her gun to share memories. Soon, Pakunoda could see Neon's memories, and her expression became serious. "What's wrong, Pakunoda?" Seeing Pakunoda's expression, Finks asked. "I will let you know through the memory bomb." After this, Pakunoda formed the bullets and shot everyone in the head to share the memories. In an instant, a lot of pictures and memories invaded every member's brain. In those memories, they could see Franklin and Phaeton killing the guests in the auction, and taking the items. However, an ugly guy in a suit appeared and fought Franklin fiercely before the memories ended. Krilo and the others saw Neon's memory of what happened in the auction. "Chief, what do you think?" Shanark asked. Krilo said seriously, "First, that place is Phaeton and Franklin's target. They successfully infiltrated it and killed most of the guests there, and intended to take most of the items. As for the man in the suit that Franklin fought, he is obviously one of the guests in the auction and a bodyguard hired by the Nostrade family, but this doesn't stop here." Krilo looked gloomy as he continued, "I can't be wrong about this. That guy in the suit is the Allan I knew. Although he changed his appearance, I can't change how he moves. He and Uvogin fought in the Hunter exam, and he has the ability to create ice. Just now, as you saw in the memory bomb when he faced Franklin's bullets, he used an ice wall to defend against them." Pakunoda also knew Allan and said, "Chief, I think it's him. Although he changed his appearance, I can still recognize his body shape, which is indeed similar." When Maki heard the word Allan, she also said, "Could it be the man who froze me in the Heavens Arena?" "That's him." Krilo nodded. Finks, Shanark, and the others didn't know Allan, but from Krilo's words, they could tell that he is very strong. "Is he strong, Chief?" Finks asked. Krilo nodded, "Very strong, and the most important thing is besides ice making, he has many other abilities. For example, he can fly by stepping on the air. He is fast and strong and can cover his fist and any part of his body with something black that makes him as strong as Uvogin. Moreover, he is a really good swordsman, maybe on par with Nobunaga, and has other talents." Finks couldn't believe this, but Krilo didn't seem to be joking around and said, "Then, I really want to see if that guy is that good." As soon as he said this, he heard a slightly joking voice speaking, "You want to see me? I'm here, you know." Finks was surprised as well as the other members. Even Krilo's usually calm face changed because he didn't sense anyone. A figure appeared from a dark corridor slowly. Suddenly, Finks, Maki, and the others were on guard. However, without Krilo's orders, no one took action. Krilo stared at the man and said, "Although you change your voice and shape, you can't hide your presence. Is that you, Allan?" "As expected of you, Krilo, since you recognize me, I won't bore you with pretending." In the next second, Allan changed back to his original appearance. "So it's really you," Krilo frowned and asked, "Allan, how did you find this place?" "A colleague of mine found out you took Neon, and I tracked your car," Allan said. Krilo couldn't believe Allan. After all, he made Kortopi dump several copies of the car and make the illusion of all the buildings around this place. Allan seemed to guess Krilo's doubt and said, "Most of the buildings outside are illusions made by Nen, and the real thing was hidden inside, so I just passed the illusion and found your base." "So that's the case. It's no wonder you found us then," Krilo said with a dark voice and asked, "Then, why are you here?" Allan shrugged, "It's very simple. You should know that I'm employed by the Nostrade family as that Miss Bodyguard, and it's my job to protect her. You kidnapped her, which troubles me greatly. So my purpose should be clear. As long as you give me that miss, I will leave." Krilo glanced at Neon next to him and said, "I can let her go. She already told us our fortune, but—" "Oh, but what?" Allan asked. "You fought against my men in the auction before, right? You should know, Franklin and Phaeton." Krilo asked. Allan glanced at Neon and saw her frightened but not hurt. He glanced at Pakunoda beside her and concluded that the latter used her psychometry and shared everything with her memory bomb. If that's the case, there was no need to deny anything, so he nodded and admitted, "Yes, I did fight them. They were good, so they are members of your group?" Hearing this, Kurlo's heart sunk. Allan was standing here while Franklin and Phaeton didn't return. This shows the result of the battle. There is a possibility that both were captured, and in the worst case, both were dead. Kurlo couldn't help asking, who won? Where are they now? Kurlo wanted to know what happened. Allan said, we fought and the two of them left the city. In addition, they said they were leaving the Ryodan and asked me to help deliver the message to you and hope you will respect their choice. You're lying, Kurlo said coldly. Franklin and Phaeton won't leave without a word. Tell me, Allan, where are they? Are they alive or dead? Allan stayed silent for a bit, then shrugged. Well, they didn't leave. They are now under me. Impossible. Kurlo couldn't believe Allan's words at all. You don't believe me? Allan sneered. Then how about I call them out, and you see for yourself? After that, Allan shouted, Franklin, Phaeton, come out. Your former boss wants to see you. As the voice fell, two figures slowly walked out behind him. One was big, and the other was small. What? At this time, Kurlo couldn't maintain his composure as he stared at Franklin and Phaeton behind Allan with disbelief. The members present were surprised as well. Why would Franklin and Phaeton join this guy? That's impossible. Everyone, including Kurlo, had the same thought and were full of doubt. It wasn't that surprising that Kurlo and the others were shocked. After all, Phaeton and Franklin were members of the Ryodan, and seeing them standing against them was shocking. Kurlo, as well as you guys, open your eyes and look carefully. They aren't fakes. Since you know them for a long time, you should be able to tell, Allan said. To be honest, Allan didn't bother to lie to Kurlo. Kurlo looked carefully and felt something weird when he looked at them. It was like Phaeton and Franklin don't have emotions. Their eyes were gray and seemed lifeless. All of them noticed this and looked at each other. After taking a deep breath, Kurlo calmed down his emotion and looked at Allan. Allan, what the hell did you do to them? Tell me, why are they like this? What happened, you ask? Allan sneered at this question before looking at the Phaeton and Franklin. They are already dead, right? What Kurlo said surprised Maki and Finks. Ah, yes, they are indeed dead. Allan nodded. Since he dared to show his puppets, he wasn't afraid of Kurlo learning that they were dead. In other words, now Franklin and Phaeton are your puppets, right? Kurlo stared at Allan coldly. Allan shook his head as if correcting Kurlo, pay attention to your words. They are my partners, not puppets. Kurlo frowned, what do you mean? The two of them are dead, however, they still have their consciousness and memory. Except for the fact that they are dead, they are the same as you know them. They can eat, sleep, and talk, like normal. Saying this, Allan temporarily lifted his absolute control on Franklin and Phaeton, granting them a certain degree of freedom, which in this case, he allowed them to speak. I'm sorry, I won't be able to come with you in the future, Franklin said. Franklin and Phaeton wanted to attack Allan as soon as they felt the control falter, but Allan stopped them. You can't attack me. After all, partners don't attack each other, Allan sneered as he looked at the two of them. Franklin and Phaeton looked at Allan coldly as their pride didn't allow them to be just puppets for Allan. The powerlessness they were feeling made them quite angry. You dare make them like this, and I'm going to kill you. Finks clenched his fists and glared at Allan. Finks' killing intent filled the place. Well, you have quite the killing intent. It seems like your relationship with those two is quite good. In that case, I will consider adding you to be my partner as well. That way, you could be with them again. Allan laughed. Hearing this, Finks said coldly, you mean you can kill me? That's right. If you want to do something, I can't guarantee your survival because I don't show mercy, Allan said confidently. Franklin and Phaeton were killed by him, and Fink's power is as good as theirs, so it wasn't difficult to kill him. Just when Finks was ready to attack, Krilo said, "Finks, stop." Finks calmed down when he heard Krilo's words and didn't do anything. Krilo knew that Allan's current ability was greater, far greater than it was in the Hunter exam. Krilo looked at Allan and said seriously, "Allan, why are you disturbing the dead? Franklin and Phaeton were killed by you, but why do you want them as your puppet? Just let them rest in peace." Hearing this, Allan sneered, "Krilo, these words coming from your mouth are really ironic, you know." Krilo was puzzled. "What do you mean?" "A few years ago, when you slaughtered the Kurta clan, in order to obtain their eyes, you deliberately angered them, took their eyes alive, and then eradicated them completely. As far as bloodthirst is concerned, I'm very kind compared to you. However, it's normal for you to have such a double standard. After all, Franklin and Phaeton grew along with you in Meteor City, so you have quite the friendship with them. But we have to clear something right now, and you are not qualified to talk to me like that." Krilo was surprised by how much Allan knew. However, it was impossible for him to leave Phaeton and Franklin be Allan's puppets. As the leader of the Ryodan, he would not watch as his companions turn into puppets even after death. "What do you want for you to release them?" Krilo asked blankly. This was his last negotiation. "It can't be done." Allan shook his head. "Both Franklin and Phaeton were first-rate masters, and they can be quite helpful. If you don't lift the control off them, I will kill your employer, Neon Nostrade." Krilo glanced at Neon. Allan sneered, "Are you really trying to threaten me?" "You can think of it like that," Krilo said seriously. "It's really funny. The leader of the Genie Ryodan is actually taking me hostage and threatening me. Aren't you afraid of being laughed at?" Allan couldn't help laughing. Krilo coldly said, "I'm not joking. I never cared about what others thought of me. Now, can you release Phaeton and Franklin and let them rest in peace?" "No way." Allan refused instantly. At this moment, Krilo could no longer suppress his killing intent, but the person he wanted to kill wasn't Neon but Allan. The killing intent was directed at Allan. Seeing that Krilo wanted to kill him, Allan's eyes turned into scarlet red eyes in an instant. When Krilo met the Mangekyo Sharingan, he entered in a trance. It was like he lost consciousness for an instant, and suddenly he found himself in a blood-red space. The place was filled with a sense of death while the earth and sky were both blood-red. There is no vitality in this place. While he was tied to a huge stone pillar, where is this place? Krilo looked around in awe. "This is the world of Tsukuyomi," a cold voice said from nowhere. Krilo frowned as he looked at Allan's figure, appearing out of nowhere. "What did you do? Also, is wrong with your eyes?" Krilo looked at Allan's scarlet eyes and asked. "These eyes are called the Mangekyo Sharingan. Each eye had a powerful technique or a dojutsu, and you are currently under one of them, the Tsukuyomi. I dragged you into the world created by my Sharingan." "Mangekyo Sharingan?" Krilo seemed confused. He only knew of the scarlet eyes of the Kurta clan but never heard about the Mangekyo Sharingan and what is this so-called dojutsu. Although he didn't quite understand everything, he knew that he was under one of the techniques Allan talked about. "Krilo, no matter how much time passes in the world, it would be a second outside. Your underlings won't find anything strange because when they react, this technique would be over." Krilo, who was tied to a pillar, was surprised. From Allan's description, he concluded that technique was a strong hypnotic illusion. "In other words, I'm hypnotized, and now I'm in your spiritual world?" Krilo asked. "Correct." Allan smiled. "For the next 72 hours, I will use the sword in my hand to stab you without interruption. In other words, you will suffer for 72 hours of torture. It depends on your willpower to keep going for that long." Hearing this, Krilo frowned. "What if I can't keep going?" "You won't die, but your spirit won't be able to bear the torment and be on the verge of collapse." "In other words, this is a mental attack, right?" "Yes, Krilo. You're very smart. I hope your spirit is strong." Otherwise, you will be miserable. When Allan finished talking, his sword directly slashed Krilo. A deep wound appeared on Krilo's body, and blood gushed out. Krilo frowned due to the pain. The pain was very real, as if his real body was cut. However, Krilo knew that this pain was due to the strength of Allan's illusion. The second slash came, and Krilo took a breath as the pain intensified. The third slash, the fourth, the fifth. Krilo felt that the 72 hours were too long. He couldn't remember how many times he was slashed open. At first, he was able to keep himself awake, but later the pain swallowed his consciousness. As far as the people outside the illusion know, Krilo was just standing and glaring at Allan with killing intent, and the next second, he was on his knees. He seemed very weak and on the verge of losing consciousness. Pakunoda, Maki, Shizuku, Kortopi, Shanark, Vanolanov, and Finks didn't understand what happened. "That's really embarrassing, Krilo," Allan said with disappointment apparent in his voice. Allan sighed as he looked at Krilo. He thought that Krilo could preserve for 72 hours since Kakashi did preserve when Itachi used it on him, even if he was unconscious afterward. Well, Tsukuyomi was the strongest Sharingan illusion, so even if Krilo was stronger than ordinary people, he wouldn't be able to withstand such a technique. What did you do to Chief?" Maki glared at Allan. The other members looked at Allan with hostility. Although they didn't know what happened to cause Krilo's sudden weakness, from Allan's words, it seemed like he was the reason for it. "What's wrong with that guy's eyes?" Finks stared at Allan's eyes and was puzzled. "Finks, don't look into his eyes," Shanark said seriously. "It seems like Chief looked into his eyes and then became like that." Shanark's words surprised Finks and the others. Just looking at Allan's eyes caused their leader to be in such a state? "Shanark, you're really smart." Allan glanced at him with admiration. "Are you interested in joining me?" "Impossible." "That's a shame." Allan shrugged. "You haven't answered yet. What did you do to Chief?" Shanark frowned. "You can see for yourself." "Oh, I didn't do anything. Since all of you were here, did you see me move from my place at all? Also, you should send him to a head specialist soon, and I'm sure he will be hospitalized for some time as is." All of them glared at Allan. They didn't see Allan make any move. That was a fact, so they had no evidence that directly indicates that Allan caused the current state of Krilo. They knew that Allan was the cause, but they didn't have any way to prove that he did it. Of course, they weren't detectives looking for proof. All they were worried about was his weird ability. Assuming that Allan did the same to one of them, they would be in a worse state than their leader because they knew that they weren't comparable to him. Their only advantage right now is their number. If they attacked together, they might be able to subdue Allan. However, they didn't attack for two reasons. First, they didn't know the extent of Allan's power, and second, their chief's current situation. It was the first time they saw Krilo in his current state. They were currently in a bad situation. They were struggling as they didn't know what to do right now. Krilo was the leader who gave them orders, and with him now unable to do so, and they couldn't make a decision. At this moment, Maki said, "Let's take Chief and go. I'm afraid if we don't get him to the hospital soon, the situation will become worse." Most of the members didn't object to Maki's proposal, but they didn't agree either. Seeing how difficult it was for them to make a decision, Allan said, "I advise you that you don't think about doing anything to me, or you will suffer. Now, it's best to follow Maki's advice and take your leader and leave." Hearing this, the member of the Ryodan looked at each other. Although they didn't want to admit it, Allan's power was unknown to them, but he was able to handle someone as strong as their leader. Otherwise, Krilo wouldn't have been in his current state. Shanark, who was the smart guy in the Ryodan, said, "Well, let's take Chief and leave. For now, all of us will leave." "Damn it, and what about him then?" Finks glared at Allan. He couldn't bear the thought of surrendering to Allan like that and escape. "I understand how you feel, Finks, but there is no other choice. Our current situation isn't good, and we can no longer cause trouble for now," Shanark said. Finks could only snort. Although he was unhappy, he said nothing else. When they were about to leave, Maki looked at Allan and asked, "Can you tell me what did you do to Chief?" "Tsukuyomi," Allan said casually. "Tsukuyomi?" "Yes, Kurlo's spirit was greatly damaged. That is the reason for his current state," Allan explained. "So, what will happen to him?" Maki asked. Allan shook his head. "I don't know. If he can regain his consciousness, there wouldn't be any problem. He would just need 10 to 15 days of rest, and he will be fine. But if he doesn't wake up, he may stay in a coma for the rest of his life. Because of his damaged spirit, the coma is actually a self-protection mechanism from his body." Hearing Allan's words, Maki was worried. They quickly left the temporary base with the unconscious Kurlo. Right now, only Neon and Allan were left inside the building. Fortunately, Kurlo didn't do anything to Neon. "Hey, wake up." Allan poked Neon's head to wake her up. Neon opened her eyes quickly and was confused when she saw Allan. "Who are you? Don't you recognize me?" Allan asked her. "Should I know you?" Neon asked innocently. "Of course, I'm your bodyguard after all," Allan said. "My bodyguard, are you?" Neon stared at Allan carefully before she said, "Are you, Allan?" Allan nodded. "That's me." Eh? Neon was extremely surprised. "Why do you look so young and handsome?" "This is how I normally look, as I just changed my appearance with a disguise technique," Allan explained. Neon nodded, then asked, "Right, where are those people? Where did they go?" Allan knew that she was asking about the Raiden and said, "I drove them away." Neon didn't doubt his words. "Then, let's go back now," Allan said. "Can you carry me back?" Neon said while blushing slightly. "Why?" Allan asked puzzledly. "Because I'm sleepy, I don't have any strength left to walk anymore," Neon said. "You don't have any energy?" "Well, those guys made me tell their fortune one after the other, so I feel really sleepy right now, and I have no strength left," Neon explained. Allan hesitated for a moment before he nodded and said, "Well, don't say that I took advantage of you later." "I won't. You saved me after all. And thank you, even if it is late." Neon blushed and leaned her head on Allan's back. And just like that, Allan and Neon returned to the hotel. Allan didn't want the others to see him as he was, especially Kurapika. So when he returned, he used the disguise technique again. After that, Allan returned to the villa and told Dalzaline about the situation as the latter was the captain. Dalzaline's heart finally calmed down as he heard that Neon was safe and said, "Thanks, Allan. If it wasn't for you, we wouldn't have found Miss Neon right now." Allan waved his hand as if it was nothing because it was his job in the first place. "By the way, Allan, how did you rescue Miss Neon from the Gene Raiden?" Dalzaline asked curiously. "It's very simple. I fought their leader, I won, so they let Neon go," Allan said in a relaxed tone. "Although I don't know how strong their leader is, I know that he was stronger than any of us can imagine since even the shadow beasts weren't a match for them. You're incredibly strong. So my bodyguard job should be over now, right? If your evaluation of my job is good, then please send the rest of the money to my card," Allan said. "No problem, I will report to the boss immediately," Dalzaline said. At this moment, Kurapika came over and said, "Allan, can I ask you something?" "Ask away." Allan knew what Kurapika wanted to ask. "Have you seen the Raiden's members?" "Yes." Allan nodded. "Where are they now?" Kurapika asked impatiently. "They should have already left York New City," Allan replied. Hearing this, Kurapika couldn't believe this. "Why did they leave? How do you know?" "Their leader is injured," Allan replied. "Injured? Did you fight against the leader of the Raiden?" Kurapika asked in surprise. Allan nodded. "Can you tell me what their leader looks like?" Kurapika asked. "Very young." Allan only said this. "What about the other members?" "Sorry, I don't remember them very well." Although I know they are your enemies, I can't help you much." Hearing this, Kurapika nodded and didn't ask any more. A day later, Allan received 300 million jenny for protecting Neon, and with this, his contract came to an end. Before leaving, Allan went to say goodbye to Neon specifically. Neon didn't want him to go, but she knew that she couldn't do anything about it. After leaving the Nostrade family, Allan used his money to play for a few days in York New City and bought an apartment worth 200 million jenny. After that, Allan contacted Zeno. Zeno once again gave Allan a contract. The contract was very simple, and all Allan had to do was kill a certain someone who had a bounty on his head. Allan was bored, so he took the job, and after a week in York New City, he set off. The name of this criminal is Martin. He is suspected of killing 42 important people, and is classified as a dangerous criminal, and is wanted by many countries. As long as anyone can kill him, they can get 500 million jenny. However, it wasn't easy to find him, and it wasn't easy to kill him, even if you managed to find him. Since he had a first-degree bounty on his head, it means that he is strong. After half a month of investigation, Allan finally found Martin's whereabouts and directly took an airship to his location. After 2 days, Allan arrived at a small country, and according to his investigation, Martin was hiding here. When Allan came to this country, he felt that it was different from usual. It was peaceful, and the residents always seemed happy with a smile on their faces. Along the way, Allan discovered many churches, and according to his information, the criminal, Martin, was hiding in one of the churches. Allan didn't know which one Martin was hiding in, but he wasn't in a hurry. Because before he finds Martin, he had to get the information from its provider here. Allan bought the information online and had to meet the provider face-to-face to get the information. Allan arrived at a coffee shop and waited. Soon, a woman sat across from him. The woman was wearing a red coat and a mesh underneath it. You can tell that this woman was very young. She seemed in her early 20s. She wasn't wearing any makeup, but her face still was very white. She had sunglasses on, which prevented seeing her eyes, but she is most likely good-looking. "Are you Elena?" Allan asked. The woman named Elena nodded. "Yes, you're Allan, right?" Allan nodded. They were meeting for the first time face-to-face. They previously talked online, and he bought the information from her. "You're younger than I thought." Elena looked at Allan. Allan smiled and replied, "I didn't expect the woman selling information to be a woman and a pretty one at that." Elena wasn't happy by the praise and said, "Are you a superficial man just like everyone else?" Allan shrugged. "Every man has a superficial side to him. Everyone likes beautiful things, and I'm not an exception. However, I can assure you that I have no intention toward you. That's the difference between other men and me." Elena didn't believe Allan one bit, but she didn't refute him. "Let's talk business. Are you really a professional hunter?" Allan handed out his license to Elena and said, "That's my license. You can take a look." Elena picked it and confirmed its authenticity, then returned it and nodded. "I'm sorry because Mr. Allan looks too young, I had to confirm. It's my first time seeing such a young hunter, so I was a little surprised." "It's okay." Allan didn't mind at all as he smiled and asked, "Is there anything else?" Elena thought for a while and asked, "Why do you take such a dangerous job like a bounty hunter? As a professional hunter, you can find safer jobs easily. First of all, the hunter's license is just a pass for me. And secondly, there are many types of hunters around the world. Music, food, relic, etc. Being a bounty hunter is just one of them." Elena nodded. She knew all this, but she was just curious about why Allan chose his path. Of course, Allan saw her doubt, smiled, and said, "I probably chose this path because of money and interest." "Money? Interest?" Elena looked at Allan, confused. Allan laughed. "There are many dangerous people with high bounty. The money obtained from hunting them is much more than any other job. So, half of the reason is money, as this profession earns a lot. I think most bounty hunter thinks about it that way as well. Elena nodded and then asked, "Then, Mr. Allan, your interest is the interest you gain from money?" If he answered yes, then Elena would think he is too cheesy. However, Allan denied that and replied, "Doing business isn't all about money. It's about the thrill and unknown you can face hunting dangerous criminals. I like that kind of challenge." Elena whispered, "Because of the danger?" She felt that he was crazy. If he was doing business because of the money, she could understand. But doing it for the thrill and danger that accompanied the job was a bit crazy. "I'm bored. I want to find some powerful people to fight against. Those who had a bounty on their head, depending on how much the bounty is, could be strong. I just want to fight someone strong. That's my interest." To make Elena understand, Allan added a sentence that sounded crazier than before. Elena couldn't help asking, "Those guys are quite dangerous, and their hands were stained by countless human lives they've taken, fighting against them. Aren't you afraid of death?" "I'm afraid of that." Allan smiled. "Then why?" Elena asked. "Because I'm strong. If there is a guy who can put me in such a dangerous situation, I want to see him, but unfortunately, there are only a few of them in this world." Elena saw the confidence radiating from Allan and only said, "Mr. Allan is a weird guy." After drinking a cup of coffee, Allan asked Elena, "Are you sure that my target, Martin, is in this country?" "Yes, I am," Elena replied confidently. "Why are you so sure?" Allan asked curiously. "Because Martin is from this kingdom, he has nowhere to escape after many countries are after him, so he recently came back here." "Why do you know this?" "Because I'm an information gathering expert. My job is to collect information and sell them." "I see." Allan nodded. Allan admired Elena's information gathering skills, and if Martin is here, she is really good at her job. Allan doubted that someone as good as her would be simple. Maybe she is a professional hunter. Allan asked, "Elena, Martin is a dangerous criminal, with a bounty of 500 million jenny on his head. I think that many people wanted to catch him, and they should be looking at his location, right?" "What do you want to ask?" Elena didn't hesitate and asked. Allan said, "I will be straightforward. Did you give this information to anyone else?" "I did." Elena's answer was within Allan's expectations. He smiled and said, "Then, there must be a lot of people asking to meet you here?" "That's not the case." Elena scratched her head. "Although there are many people who bought this information, they asked to meet offline to talk in person, but I rejected all of them. So far, I only promised to meet you." Allan was a little surprised but a little puzzled. "Why did you meet only me?" "There is no special reason, just because the information you registered was clean. You also have a hunter's license, that all." "I see." Allan nodded, as he didn't doubt that Elena was lying. "Then, since you promised to meet with me, you must give me Martin's whereabout, right?" Allan asked. "Yes." Elena didn't deny it. "Then, do you know where Martin is currently hiding?" "I do." Allan nodded seriously. "Tell me his location, and you can give me a price." Elena thought for a bit and said, "Instead of telling you, I better take you there directly." Allan shrugged and said, "I don't really care, but aren't you afraid that he would see you? If he kills me, you won't be able to escape." "So, you have to pay me to double," Elena said. Elena seemed to be greedy. She wasn't satisfied with only selling the information and earn her due, but she wanted to take a risk and earn more. Seeing Allan thinking about it, Elena asked again, "What do you think? You want me to take you there?" "How much do you want?" Allan asked. "If I tell you his location, then you give me 50 million jenny, but if I take you there, you give me 100 million jenny. Since there is a risk, the reward should be greater. Also, you have to pay half now and the other half after finding Martin." "Okay." Paying 100 million to find Martin wasn't a bother to Allan because Martin's bounty was 500 million jenny. But, of course, this is all if Martin is there. "If you dare lie about this, I promise you that your end won't be peaceful." Elena didn't worry about Allan's threat and chuckled, "Don't worry, I'm a very honest woman. As long as I get the money, I will always deliver the information. Then let's go, take me there now. Allan got up as he spoke. Elena nodded and said, let's go. After leaving the cafe, both of them went into a tourist's car. Where are we going? Allan asked. The capital of the kingdom. Martin is there? Yes. Elena continued, we are going to the capital as tourists, so we don't attract attention. There are many tourists from all over the world in this country. So we can relax for now. We have to keep a low profile, so we don't get arrested. Allan nodded. Unexpectedly, Elena knew a lot of things about safety. Allan wasn't afraid of being checked by soldiers. Since he had the hunter's license, he can go to over 95% of countries, and even restricted areas aren't off-limit. Along the way, Elena explained a lot of things about the country to Allan. Although the kingdom was small, there are over 3,000 churches here. More than 95% of the people were religious, and many of them are nobles. They all go to the church once a week to get baptized by the Holy Light. The baptism of the Holy Light is simple. The head of the church would read the scriptures to the believers. Today happens to be the day of the baptism. So I will be very lively. Especially the cathedral in the capital. Allan said after hearing this, take me to where Martin is, and then you can go wherever you want. Martin is in the cathedral in the capital. We can join the find while you find your target. 2 birds with 1 stone. Elena's words surprised Allan. So Martin is hiding in the church. Is he a believer? He isn't, but a holy light bearer of the church, Elena said. A holy light bearer. 95% of the people in the kingdom are believers, which means almost everyone supports the church. The staff of the church is called the bearers of the holy light. Allan was a little surprised. Unexpectedly, a dangerous criminal is a member of the church. His identity is really interesting. It seems that those believers are kept in the dark. Elena nodded. Yes, if the believers knew that a wanted criminal is a bearer of the holy light, their faith will take a huge impact. Maybe the credibility of the church will be affected as well. But, by then, it would be a question whether the church will remain or not. Do other members of the church know about Martin being a wanted criminal? Allan asked curiously. Elena shook her head. I don't know, because most staff are originally from this kingdom. But I don't think so because many believe in the church, and if they were doing something shady, there wouldn't be so many believers. Martin's case should be unique. After all, when the base is large, there would be 1 or 2 special cases like that. A few hours later, Allan and Elena arrived at the capital. Although the kingdom was small, the buildings weren't old, and their style was modern. And since today was the day of the baptism, the city was quite lively. In addition to tourists, the citizens filled the streets toward the cathedral of the church for the baptism. As tourists, Allan and Elena followed the crowd toward the church that was quite big and decorated magnificently. Inside the church, there was a huge hall like a coliseum that can hold tens of thousands of people inside. In its center, there was a statue of a saint which was the symbol of the church. Tens of thousands of citizens came here to receive the baptism, and only a small part of the crowd were tourists. Are you sure Martin will appear in this church? Allan asked Elena, who nodded. He is a core member of the church and one of the 7 famous holy light bearers here. He will attend the baptism of light together with the other 6. With Elena's assurance, Allan stopped asking and waited for his prey to appear. At this time, Elena asked Allan curiously, Mr. Allan, how are you going to do this? Allan smiled. Of course, I will do it directly. Hearing this, Elena was taken aback. Does Mr. Allan planning to attack Martin in this crowd? Why, I can't. Seeing Elena's reaction, Allan said without concern. Elena said with a serious face, Martin is a member of the church, and there are many supporters here. You can even say that this entire place is on Martin's side, and this will hinder you, Mr. Allan. Unexpectedly, Elena was thinking about Allan, but the latter he didn't appreciate. He insisted on doing it his way. I will get rid of him soon, don't worry. Martin's bounty is as high as 500 million jenny. He is an extremely dangerous guy. Mr. Allan, even if you are a professional hunter, if you want to catch him on his turf, it will be very difficult. Then you can wait for the time to come and see for yourself. Allan put his hands in his pockets and looked up. He didn't underestimate Martin. On the contrary, he was quite vigilant with the guy since, with that kind of bounty, it means he was strong. Against someone he doesn't know anything about, how could Allan look down on him? Seeing Allan's confidence, Elena knew that Allan's decision wouldn't change, but she still expressed herself, Mr. Allan, I think it's better to wait till the end to make your move. It's okay. If I can wait that long, I will attack him at the end of the event, but if I can't wait, I will do it directly. Elena suddenly thought of something and asked, if you really caught Martin, what will you do if the people of the church, along with the believers, come to attack you? Of course. I will hit back, Allan laughed. Since he dared to come here to catch someone, he wasn't afraid of being surrounded. At this time, something rang, and a dazzling light appeared on the platform. The sun rays lightened the entire church with a golden light. Some people couldn't stand the strong rays of light and closed their eyes. When the light disappeared, they opened their eyes again, and surprisingly, for them, 7 figures appeared on the stage. Those 7 were the holy lights bearers of the church. Each one of them was wearing a golden cloak and a large hat. The crowd roared and waved their hands at the 7 people with admiration filling their eyes. Are those the holy lights bearers of the church? Allan looked at the 7 and asked Elena. Elena nodded and replied, yes, they are. Getting his answer, Allan looked at them sharply. However, he frowned because none of their appearances matched that of Martin's. Which one is Martin? Allan wondered. The third one from the left is Martin, Elena replied. His appearance is different from the bounty. Did he put a disguise? Allan asked curiously. To be precise, the bounty picture is the disguise. The one standing there is what Martin really looks like. This is why no one in the country could tell that he was a criminal, Elena explained. Allan nodded and looked at his target, then smiled coldly. Okay, now, I'm going to do it. What? Do you really have to do it now? Can't you wait? There is no need to waste time, and I can get rid of him quickly. After seeing his prey, Allan couldn't wait. Well, if you fail, don't give me away. Seeing that Allan decided to act, Elena said nothing else. Allan sneered and looked at the platform and said, my target can't escape. Elena, just stand there and watch. You will see how I treat the holy light bearer politely. Suddenly, Allan jumped out of the crowd and rushed from below the stage very quickly toward the center. So fast. Elena looked at Allan in surprise. On the platform, the 7 holy lights bearers also noticed Allan, and their expression changed. Obviously, Allan didn't have any good intentions. However, with Allan's speed, they couldn't react fast enough as the latter already arrived on the platform. Who are you? One of the bearers of light stared at Allan vigilantly and asked. Allan didn't answer as his eyes scanned the 7 bearers, and finally, his eyes were fixed on the third one from the left. He was staring at his target, the criminal Martin, with a bounty of 500 million jenny on his head. When Allan's gaze met Martin's, the latter felt a chill on his back. They just stared at each other for a bit, while the others felt that Allan was very dangerous. From Allan's eyes, Martin could feel the hostility. Martin instantly realized that Allan was after him. With this conclusion, Martin withdrew his gaze from Allan and started looking around evasively. His face was pale, and you can see some panic starting to appear on his face. I need to escape. This thought popped in Martin's head, but Allan seemed to see through him in an instant. Without any words, Allan stretched his hand to grab him. Martin reacted quickly and pushed one of the bearers beside him toward Allan and jumped off the platform, and started running away. Allan snorted but didn't expect this kind of disgrace from Martin. He actually used one of his co-workers as a shield. The substitute was frozen instantly and turned into a nice sculpture. Witnessing such a weird thing shocked the crowd greatly. Allan looked at Martin's figure that was already pushing the people below and trying to escape. At this time, the other holy lights bearers reacted. "Who are you?" Seeing his friend frozen, one of them shouted and decided to take action. Allan glanced at them and saw that those 5 were releasing their aura. Allan was slightly surprised by this since he didn't expect them to know how to use Nen. Even their aura was quite strong, actually. "Although I would like to see your abilities, I apologize. I'm somewhat in a hurry now." Without giving them a chance to attack, Allan stretched his hand and shot ice at them. As soon as the ice touched them, the 5 of them were frozen solid like their friend, and even when they tried to use Nen to defend, it was no use at all. All of this happened in mere seconds, but Martin still managed to disappear from Allan's sight. Allan jumped from the now frozen platform and started going toward the same direction Martin ran away from. After leaving the church, Allan called Phaeton and Franklin. He previously made them wait for his orders. Since they looked suspicious, he didn't bring them along. With Yatsufusa in hand, both of them will follow every order Allan gave. Allan directly ordered them to go in search for Martin, and both Franklin and Phaeton nodded and left. In order to find Martin, Allan used his own technique as well, the Heaven's Eye, to search in every direction surrounding the church. The Heaven's Eye can see 5 times better than normal, with a 360-degree field of view. It can also give real-time feedback to the user, which is great for searching for enemies. With every kilometer the Heaven's Eye traveled, it consumed 1,000 Nen points, so 10 kilometers means 10,000 Nen points. The Heaven's Eye started searching everywhere. At this time, Elena arrived, and Allan couldn't help asking, "How is the situation in the church?" "It's a mess," Elena said in worry. "You froze the light bearers, and the church and its believers won't let you go easily." Allan smiled indifferently without taking them seriously. Suddenly, he received feedback from the Heaven's Eye. Martin was currently in a dark alley, hiding. "I found him. Wait for me here." Before Elena could answer, Allan already disappeared. He used flash steps to speed up toward his prey's location. Martin was trying to think of a way out currently in a dark alley, but suddenly, someone appeared at the entrance of the alley. At the same time, Allan ordered Phaeton and Franklin to block any escape route, so Martin can't escape. Of course, Martin didn't know this, as he only saw Allan. Martin looked at Allan in surprise, and he couldn't figure out how Allan found this place and became curious about Allan's identity. "Who the hell are you?" Martin grumbled. "My name is Allan, and I'm a professional bounty hunter." Hearing this, Martin suddenly said, "So it's a bounty hunter. No wonder you're looking for me." Martin Char, bounty, 500 million Jenny, a first-degree murderer. "Well, you hid pretty well since you're also a holy lights bearer in this kingdom with so many supporters. I don't know what the believers would say if they knew that you're a criminal." Martin heard Allan's sarcasm and snorted, "Stop talking nonsense. What do you want?" "Of course, I'm here for your head. After all, it has a 500 million Jenny price on it." Allan smiled lightly while looking confidently at Martin. Martin replied in a deep voice, "There are over 100 people who came after me, but they failed. Do you know why?" Allan shrugged. "They were probably weak and couldn't match your skills." "Yes. They thought they could kill me, but I kill every last one of them. So far, I called a dozen of those so-called bounty hunters. And like those stupid guys, you will die by my hands." Allan sneered, "Unfortunately for you, you fell in my hands today. However, I will give you a chance to make a move. Let me see how strong someone with 500 million Jenny on his head can be. If you don't use all of your strength, you will regret it. After all, it's the only attack you will get. I won't even defend myself." Hearing Allan's arrogant remark, Martin felt very uncomfortable. After all, he was a high-end criminal, with millions on his head. Allan's provocation made him gloomy. "I will let you witness my power." Martin's aura exploded out of his body and rose steadily. Allan stood still while looking at Martin with interest. "Well, he is worthy of his bounty. At least his aura is higher than average. Although the amount of nen doesn't always decide the outcome of a battle, the more nen one possesses, the stronger he is generally. With the amount he was releasing, Allan could tell that Martin's power is already close to Phaeton's and the other members of the Riordan. This made Allan look forward to the fight. With Allan's current strength, someone with Martin's nen isn't eye-catching, but it should be a fun fight. The most important thing in nen is the ability of the user. That's what Allan wanted to see. Since each person would develop a different ability, he wanted to see Martin's nen ability. It wasn't easy to develop an nen ability since you need to master the basics and advanced application of nen beforehand. And after that, the person needs to see which type of nen they possess before they start developing their nen ability. The mindset of a person can reflect on the nen type that person possesses. With Martin's cunning and despicable personality, he is either a manipulator, a transmuter, or a specialist. Of course, this wasn't a general rule, but more of an easy way to guess your opponent's nen type. While Allan was observing Martin, the latter was doing the same. Seeing Allan so confident that he didn't even use his nen, Martin felt that his opponent is underestimating him, but at the same time, he was laughing coldly. Allan's arrogance was really stupid, in his opinion, and the behavior will cost him dearly. Martin seemed to distort, and a black hole spread strangely from his position. The black hole formed a crack about 10 meters big. Allan stared at the black hole without blinking. This was Martin's nen ability. From sight alone, Allan couldn't see anything inside the black hole, which is why he released his observation hockey. Sure enough, he felt a strong nen inside the black hole. Well, is there something coming out of there? Allan narrowed his eyes slightly. Allan started feeling the nen gushing out of the black hole, and at this time, Martin said, "Come out, Janus." It seemed like Martin was summoning someone or something from the black hole. A black mist suddenly emerged from the black hole before it formed a creature Allan never saw before. Huh? Nen beast? Allan's eyes were looking at the strange creature curiously. The nen beast transformed from the black mist into a humanoid appearance that stood on 2 feet. It didn't look human, as its body was covered in green scales that appeared like a defensive ability. In addition to that, the beast's hands and feet were like sharp claws. Allan could feel the strong nen it released, and from what Martin said, this beast is called Janus. Martin looked at Allan maliciously and said, "You're done for now. Janus has been hungry for a while, and his favorite food is human's flesh, especially the flesh of those who are strong." Allan didn't do anything. Instead, he decided to wait and see. From Martin's words, this beast can eat people, which was kind of rare for a nen beast. However, this reminded Allan of Shizuku's vacuum cleaner, which can eat almost anything. However, the vacuum cleaner needed a wielder to operate, while this beast could act individually. "You will regret being here right away." Seeing that Allan wasn't afraid, Martin snorted and then gave Janus an order. "Janus 140th, kill that guy and eat him." Janus received his order, and his beast-like eyes focused on Allan. Suddenly, he disappeared from his place. "Oh? That's fast." Allan could see Janus rushing toward him quickly. To normal people, Janus may seem to disappear, but to Allan, he could clearly see him. Along with observation hockey, Allan could predict the trajectory of Janus's attack fully. However, even though he knew where the attack is heading, Allan didn't make a move or prepare for confrontation. He just stood there, did nothing, and waiting for Janus with an expressionless face. Martin could only think that this kid was looking for death. He could almost foresee the scene where Allan is being torn to shreds by Janus. It was a scene he was looking forward to seeing. But in the next second, Martin's smile froze. He saw a huge phantom shining from Allan's body and easily blocking Janus's claws. What is that? Martin's eyes widened. A humanoid figure appeared before Allan and easily blocked Janus's claws with one hand and sent the beast away with a punch. Janus flew away through several walls before crashing down with a boom. Martin's face turned ugly as if he had eaten crap. It actually knocked Janus away with a punch. What the hell is that thing? He stared at the humanoid figure in front of Allan's body and couldn't help asking, what the hell is that, is it also a beast? Allan sneered, don't compare your beast to my stand. The only thing that was left is for Allan to do a pose, and it would look the same. Ahem. Anyways, as most people know, Star Platinum is a stand from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. It belongs to Jotaro Kujo. Allan had this ability after he rescued Neon from Krullo in York New City. This is the first time he actually used it. Star Platinum is quite strong, and it can move at the speed of light or even exceed it. It has unmatched precision and can be called the strongest stand in history. In general, it has 3 abilities. The first one is super speed. Simply put, it is so fast that I can surpass the speed of sound, the speed of light, and time itself. The second ability is overwhelming strength, which is embodied in the power to destroy even the hardest diamonds. And the third ability is derived from the first one, which is literally stopping time. He can stop time for 5 seconds, which is an ability beyond any Nen beast in this world. Therefore, he already believed that with Star Platinum, he didn't need to care about any attack, and it will block every attack and defeat any enemy he faces. A black shadow suddenly emerged in front of Allan and attacked. Janus was indeed fast, but in front of Star Platinum, his speed was negligible. Therefore, once again, Janus's attack was blocked, and the Nen beast was sent flying. You see, in terms of speed, Janus is as fast as a snail compared to Star Platinum. Facing Allan's sneer, Martin became angry. Bastard! What Star Platinum, don't underestimate my Janus. Martin was getting angry when he witnessed Janus getting beaten. Oh? Your Nen increased. Allan was a little surprised. Generally, the Nen beast won't be affected by the summoner's mood. Allan suddenly had an idea. There are 3 types of Nen that can conjure a Nen beast, and they were emission, conjuration, manipulation. The created Nen beast will have an ability corresponding to the Nen it was created from. Judging from Janus's performance, it should be an emission-type Nen beast. In this way, it was understandable that Janus possessed so much Nen and was influenced by Martin's anger. But there should be more, as Allan believed that Janus should be created using 2 types of Nen. The second type should be manipulation, and that's because Janus obeyed every order Martin gave, which is the characteristic of manipulation. As Janus's anger rose, strong energy emerged from it. Enhancement? Now Allan was surprised. This Janus seemed to have enhancement as well and can actually strengthen his body and increase his strength. The scales on its body were growing and covering every inch of his body. Its sharp claws grew 3 times as Janus seemed to be evolving, but in reality, it was just enhancement. So, is Janus a hybrid between manipulation, emission, and enhancement? Kill him, Janus. Martin looked at his masterpiece and ordered. Once again, Janus disappeared, but this time, he was 2 or 3 times faster than before. Allan remained calm because Star Platinum was here, and Allan had 100% confidence in its power. When Janus's claws were about to touch Allan's body, Star Platinum moved and clenched Janus's arm before punching his head with his free hand. Janus was hit hard, and for the 3rd time, he was sent flying away. But this time, it stopped its body quickly as if the punch didn't hurt it and rushed again. Allan said plainly, "Use your true power, Star Platinum." Receiving Allan's order, Star Platinum responded directly. As soon as Janus was close by, Star Platinum revealed his true strength. Janus's scales could very well block bullets, but under Star Platinum punch, the scales broke and shattered. What? Martin couldn't accept this. He didn't expect the Nen beast he was so proud of would lose so easily. But he quickly sneered, "Do you expect that with Janus killed, it will be the end of the battle? Oh? Do you have something else?" Allan looked at Martin expectantly. Suddenly, Martin stepped into the black hole. Before he went completely, he looked at Allan and said, "To be able to defeat Janus, I have to admit, You're very strong. So, in order to kill you, I will make a little sacrifice. Keep your eyes open and look at the power I will gain. Oh, so you will sacrifice your life in order to gain strength and kill me? So, you're that desperate, huh? Allan watched Martin disappear completely into the black hole, and after a while, Allan could feel an astonishing power emerging from the black hole. A figure came out, and it didn't look like a human being. Did that guy sacrifice himself to turn into a Nen beast? In exchange for power? Allan thought. See, this is the power I gained after being desperate. This power is so strong that I think I can kill you with a wave of my hand, Martin said. Star Platinum, take him out. Allan directly ordered Star Platinum, who directly rushed toward Martin. Facing the current threat, Martin wasn't afraid, but instead, he faced Star Platinum head-on. The two of them were fast, and as the fight continued, the buildings were destroyed around them. Suddenly, black wings emerged from Martin's back as he flew into the sky and shot his feathers as arrows toward Allan. Star Platinum directly appeared in front of Allan and defended him. After blocking the feathers' attack, Star Platinum jumped from the ground directly toward Martin and threw punches. Aura 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 aura. A rain of fists blasted Martin like meteors. Each punch moved faster than the speed of sound with enough power to crush diamonds. Martin couldn't withstand such attacks. With a bang, Martin's body fell from the sky. Star Platinum didn't give him a chance to breathe and swooped down to finish him off. A crater appeared on the ground as Martin fell, with his whole body damaged and almost impossible to repair. Seeing Martin was dying, Allan shook his head as he already expected this. Martin's power, even after the sacrifice, was nothing in front of Star Platinum, and with this, Allan caught the criminal. Great, Mr. Allan. I didn't think you will successfully catch him. You really deserve your license. Seeing Martin in the crater, Elena, who rushed over, looked at the scene in surprise. She didn't believe that Allan would be able to catch Martin at first since Martin's bounty was high. Even though one can't judge someone's strength using his bounty, Martin's bounty was too high for him to be not dangerous. However, here he lays in front of her, dying in a crater. As for Allan, he didn't suffer any injury, no scratch that, there wasn't a speck of dust on his body. If it wasn't for the information you provided, I wouldn't found him, let alone catch him, Elena. After all, this guy is quite cunning, Allan laughed. That's true. Elena thought about her contribution and then looked at Martin and asked, is he dead? Allan shook his head, no, there is still some life in him. Martin didn't look that humane anymore since he sacrificed God knows what, probably his life, to gain strength to face Allan. Allan didn't kill him simply because when the bounty holder dies, the bounty will be reduced by 20 to 50%. That's he made sure that Star Platinum won't kill him. Elena nodded and said, Martin is worth 500 million Jenny, don't forget my share when you get the money. Don't worry. I'm someone who keeps his promises, Allan said. Elena nodded. She trusted Allan as a person. Otherwise, she wouldn't have met him offline. Then let's get out of here, Mr. Allan. You caused a huge disturbance in the kingdom, and Martin is still someone from the church, so the soldiers and the church will come after you soon. If we don't leave now, it would be hard for us to leave. Allan nodded. Although he wasn't afraid, it would be troublesome to deal with all those people. When Allan carried Martin and planned to leave with Elena, a lot of people surrounded them. Those people seemed very hostile. Oh, it seems that there are a lot of people here. Allan glanced at the man dressed in armor and held a spear with curiosity. They are members of the church and soldiers of the kingdom. Elena frowned slightly. The battle between Martin and Star Platinum drew too much attention and destroyed quite a few buildings which led those soldiers and the church members here. In the eyes of those people, Allan was suspicious. And when they saw Martin, extremely weak and barely alive, they felt that Allan was a murderer. At first, they didn't recognize Martin, but the church member quickly recognized him and shouted, "Isn't that Master Martin? Damn it! How dare you do that to Master Martin?" It seems that he was the one who attacked the church previously. We can't let him go. The members of the church looked angrily at Allan. Seeing the current situation, Elena quickly explained, "You guys, listen here. Martin is a criminal with a bounty over his head. You're all being deceived by him. However, when someone believed in something, they won't listen to anyone who they didn't know, especially when they are in a situation like the current Elena and Allan." Seeing those people being unreasonable, Elena looked at Elena and asked, "Mr. Allan, what should we do?" Allan smiled lightly, "Don't worry, you will be fine with me here." At this time, the system's voice echoed in Allan's mind. Thing. Make a choice. 1. Protect Elena without killing anyone here and break through the siege safely. Reward, paramecia fruit, flower fruit. 2. Disregard Elena and leave her alone. Reward, amato. 3. Remove all obstacles in your way. Reward, paramecia fruit, mochi fruit, katakuri's fruit. Allan thought for a bit, then chose the first option. Although the reward for the third option was better, Allan wasn't an egoist. Those people were innocent, and he won't just kill them all for a devil fruit that he can't even use. Nico Robin's fruit was good anyways. After making his choice, Allan released his conqueror's haki. Except for Elena, all the people surrounding them fainted and fell. What happened? Seeing the exaggerated scene, Elena was stunned. "Mr. Allan, what did you do to them?" Although Elena didn't see Allan move, she felt that it was Allan who did this just now. Allan waved his hand indifferently, "Don't worry, I just knocked them out temporarily. Nothing bad will happen to them." While he was speaking, Allan received his reward from the system. After that, Allan and Elena took an airship and left the kingdom. A day later, they arrived at a city called Kari, in the Republic of Fedokia. Here, this is the place. Allan and Elena arrived at a suburban hut in the city. After opening the door, another one appeared that required a password. After entering the password, Allan and Elena entered the passage. At the end of the passage, another door appeared, and above it, there were 3 words, Black Market Exchange. Yes, this place was the black market. This is a secret location that most people won't know about it, or even if they knew, they won't find it. After entering, Allan handed Martin over to the staff and received his reward. Unfortunately, because Martin suffered severe injuries, he didn't stay alive till they got here and died on the way, so Allan only received 350 million jenny. It was a pity, but Allan didn't mind. The next time, I should be more careful, Allan thought. After getting out, Allan directly transferred 100 million jenny into Elena's account, which is the reward she deserved. Allan wasn't stingy to reduce the reward for Elena because his own reward was reduced. He wanted to build trust between them since he can cooperate with her in the future. Then, "Mr. Allan, see you again if there's a chance," Elena said and took her to leave. Allan nodded, said nothing. However, at this moment, the system's voice echoed in his head. Thing. Make a choice. 1. Invite Elena to join you, and make her agree. Reward, Hitsugai Toshiro's Zanpakudo, Dagur and hire in Maru. 2. Let Elena go. No reward. There is actually such a thing? I can really get Dagur and hire Rinmaru. Without any hesitation, Allan picked the first option. After all, a Zanpakudo was better than an ordinary sword or even a Mato. Furthermore, Dagur and hire Rinmaru is an ice-attributed sword, which fits Allan greatly. Allan directly asked Elena, "Wait, Elena, are you interested in joining my organization?" Damn, that came out wrong. Elena was stunned for a moment before she asked in confusion, "What organization? Allan, aren't you a professional hunter and belong to the Hunter Association? Do you want me to join the association as well? I'm fine with that, but isn't joining require me to pass the exam and obtain a license?" Allan smiled, "Sorry, I didn't mean that. I meant I wanted you to be my companion so that we can cooperate better in the future." "So that's what you're asking?" Seeing Elena nodding, Allan tentatively asked, "So, do you agree?" Elena didn't answer immediately and instead asked back, "What is your reason for inviting me? You're an expert in intelligence gathering, and I need someone like you. Is this good enough reason? You need me?" Elena blushed, as she didn't expect Allan to be so straightforward about this. She thought for a bit, then nodded and said, "If you want me to be your companion, I can promise, but you have to do something for me first." Allan directly asked, "No problem, what do you want me to do?" "Help me kill a guy." "Who?" "His name is Helfis, a noble that I hope you can get rid of." Seeing Elena's seriousness, Allan nodded, "No problem, it will be done." Although Allan didn't know why Elena wanted to kill this person, he needed to do so. After all, if she agrees to be his companion, he can get Dager and Hirinmaru, which is his goal. According to the information Elena provided, Allan learned that the noble's name is Helfis. He wasn't an ordinary noble, as he owned an organization called Reverse Crusader. As the leader of the Reverse Crusaders, Helfis is quite a prominent figure. Furthermore, Helfis is a strong person and should not be underestimated. Knowing this, Allan became excited. Allan wasn't just after status and money, but also powerful opponents, and those are hard to come by. The stronger the enemy, the more interest Allan has, and if the target is too weak, he won't waste his energy. Seeing Allan's confidence, Elena couldn't help saying, "Mr. Allan, I don't mean to underestimate you, but I still want to remind you that you still can back down. Even if you don't do this favor, we can still be friends if we can't be companions. So, if you think that it's too dangerous, you might as well give up right now." Allan smiled and patted Elena's shoulder. "Don't worry, Elena, since I have promised you, I won't go back on my promise. That's my nindo. Moreover, I take this matter as a mission to perform and the reward of getting a companion." Hearing this, Elena blushed inexplicably and lowered her head. "Helfis is very strong, and the Reverse Crusaders under him is very large. You're only one person, Mr. Allan. It's too dangerous." Allan smiled and looked at Elena seriously. "Elena, if I can't do this for you, I won't be able to get you to join me. Don't worry about me, and I will take Helfis' head off for you." "Mr. Allan." Elena's heart throbbed. Although he knew the basic information of Helfis, it won't be easy to kill him. The most troublesome thing is to actually find him. If he can't find Helfis, knowing more about him is useless. Fortunately, Elena provided some clues. Helfis and his Reverse Crusaders are located in a desert in the Asian continent. Helfis and his organization is the largest force in the desert, and even armies of the surrounding kingdoms are no match for them. He controlled 2/3 of the desert, and if he wanted, he would be able to overthrow the kingdoms and make a new one. With this information, Allan directly took the next flight there and departed. Even with an airship, it would take at least 2 days since they are flying from one continent to another. Since Elena seemed worried about Allan, she followed along. Although she didn't agree to join Allan, she gradually regarded Allan as her companion. Allan didn't object to this since he knew that he had the strength to protect Elena. "Elena, what did this Helfis do to you?" On the airship, Allan was bored, so he asked Elena curiously. Elena knew that sooner or later, Allan would ask that question and didn't hide anything. "He abducted my sister, so I want to kill him." When Elena said this, Allan could see her clenching her fist and could tell that she didn't lie. This aroused Allan's curiosity even further. "How was your sister kidnapped by Helfis?" Elena took a deep breath and said, "This happened 5 years ago when my sister Alice and I were living in a peaceful village until a group of people invaded the village and robbed and injured many villagers. Those people were the Reverse Crusade, and after some time, the leader of the crusade appeared and took a fancy to my sister. He asked her to join the Reverse Crusade. If my sister refuses, Helfis will kill the villagers. As a last resort, my sister sacrificed herself and joined his organization." Allan couldn't help asking, "Is your sister that beautiful?" "We are twins. We look the same. Do you think I'm beautiful?" Elena asked. Allan was a little surprised at this as he didn't think Elena had a twin. "Why aren't you speaking? Am I ugly?" Seeing Allan silent, Elena asked directly. Allan calmly said, "No, you're very beautiful. You can be ranked at the top 3 of the most beautiful women I've seen so far." Elena nodded in satisfaction and said, "My sister looks almost the same as me, so she is really beautiful as well." Allan said, "Since you sisters are so beautiful, why did Helphys took your sister, but no you?" Elena sighed and explained, "It's simple. Helphys didn't like my sister's look, but her ability." "Ability?" Allan was slightly surprised. "Does your sister know Nen?" "No." Elena shook her head and explained, "My sister is born with an ability to heal injuries. At the time Helphys arrived, she was healing the villagers, and he saw that." After hearing Elena's explanation, Allan nodded while feeling slightly surprised. He never thought that Elena had such a past. "Don't worry, Elena. I will kill Helphys and his army and rescue your sister." Allan patted Elena's shoulder reassuredly. "Thank you, Mr. Allan." It was the first time that Elena met someone like Allan, and his words deeply moved her. 2 days later, Allan and Elena arrived at the Asian continent safely. Allan hired someone to get them to the Desert Kingdom. When the driver heard their destination, his complexion changed, and he became reluctant. Fortunately, Allan gave him double the normal price, so he agreed. From the driver's words, Allan learned that only a few people would go to the Desert Kingdom nowadays. Allan and Elena concluded that it was mostly due to the Reverse Crusaders and the kingdom's army's constant wars. After a day, they arrived at the gate of the kingdom, which is also called a checkpoint with a few soldiers. "What is your purpose of coming here?" an old man carrying a gun asked. "Tourism," Allan replied. "Tourism?" As if he heard a big joke, the old man laughed loudly. The soldiers behind the old man were also laughing. "What are you laughing at?" Elena frowned and said unhappily. The old man stopped laughing and explained, "Sorry, I'm not laughing at you, but our country is in a mess currently, and if you want to take a tour and visit places here, we can't guarantee your safety. You must have heard on the way here, but rebels started creating a mess, and the army had to intervene and eliminate them, so it isn't a good time for tourists to come here." "Don't worry about us, we aren't afraid of them." Allan smiled lightly. "Yeah, uncle, you can let us in, and you won't need to worry about anything else." Seeing both of them set on entering the kingdom, the old man was taken aback and said helplessly, "It seems like you are really not afraid, ha ha ha." The old man gave the 2 of them a tourism visa each. According to the visa, they can stay in the country for 15 days, and if they don't leave by then, the army would take a move and force them to leave. 15 days is enough, Allan said to Elena with confidence. After successfully entering the kingdom, it was like entering another world, as everything was yellow. The entire place was filled with sand. Looking around, Elena finally suggested, "Mr. Allan, let's rent a camel." Allan nodded and followed Elena to a nearby town. There were many animals kept in farms, including horses, but the most suitable for traveling in the desert would be camels. However, the price of camels here is much higher than normal. Renting a camel would cost 500,000 jenny per day, and they need to deposit 10 million as assurance. "It's so expensive because we are tourists." Elena was dissatisfied. Allan didn't care and rented 2 camels for half a month. The price amounted to 35 million jenny. Just renting 2 camels cost Allan 35 million, and that made Elena sad. "Mr. Allan, actually, renting 1 camel is enough. There is no need for 2. Allan smiled, "Although 1 is enough for the 2 of us to ride, but you're a woman, and I'm a man, it isn't appropriate for us to ride the same camel." Allan's behavior touched Elena. "Okay, let's go to the town and buy some water and food and then leave," Allan suggested. Elena nodded and then moved toward the town. The prices were too high that even a bucket of water costs over 100,000 jenny, and beef is around 10,000 jenny. The price of water is 10 times higher than meat. However, Both Allan and Elena understood that since it is a desert, water is more precious than anything. Even then, Elena wasn't satisfied. She felt that they were taking advantage of them. Allan didn't care and used his money to get water and food. For him, money was disposable and can be earned back anytime, so he didn't care. Elena also bought a map toward the capital of the kingdom. With a map, they weren't afraid of getting lost in the desert. Their current destination was the headquarters of the Reverse Crusade, where Helfies should be. After purchasing everything, Allan and Elena rode on their camels and prepared to set off. However, before they left, suddenly, a large group of people riding motorcycles arrived with green-dyed hair and many other colors and tattoos. They were some of the local gangs that robbed the town constantly. The merchants started closing their doors hurriedly and took shelter, but unfortunately, some of them weren't fast enough and were robbed clean. If anything resists, they would be shot to death. After looting, they noticed Allan and Elena. Because they knew the prices of renting camels, they knew that Allan and Elena were well off. As a result, they looked at them like a kid looks at candy. Go get both of them, and they must have a lot of money on them, the leader ordered. His subordinates instantly surrounded Elena and Elena. Elena whispered to Allan, "Mr. Allan, they are from the Reverse Crusader." Allan nodded. He also noticed this because those people had a tattoo of a reversed cross, so their identities were clear at a glance. "Mr. Allan, what should we do now?" Seeing those people surrounding them, Elena asked. Hee, what else can we do? We met the target we are looking for so soon, so of course, we will ask the whereabouts of their leader. Looking at the soldiers of the Reverse Crusader, Allan gave them a chilling smile. Elena suddenly felt that Allan was more terrifying than the people from the Reverse Crusader. Grab them both. The leader gave his orders and the soldiers rushed toward Elena and Allan. Rankyaku. Allan kicked out using Rankyaku and directly cleaved the soldiers rushing toward him. No one was spared. The only one who remained alive was the leader who gave orders previously. He is a captain under the Reverse Crusaders banner and was ordered to plunder the resources from this town. However, they were out of luck since they encountered Allan this time. Damn it. Seeing all his men die with one attack from Allan, the captain directly took his pistol and pointed at Allan, then shot. Bang! The bullet flew and hit Allan directly. The captain was taken aback by surprise as he actually landed the shot. Elena was also surprised as she didn't expect that Allan would get shot. "Mr. Allan, are you okay?" After asking this, Elena was surprised to find that Allan was actually intact. The captain noticed this as well and shot again. Bang! Bang! He pulled the trigger again, and although the bullets hit Allan, the hole they made quickly healed or more like reform with ice and disappeared. "This is ice?" Elena looked with wide eyes. The captain had the same reaction as Elena. In this world, there are actually monsters who aren't afraid of bullets. Haha, don't be surprised. This is my ability. Allan glanced at Elena and spoke. Elena nodded, but she was still surprised. She knew that Allan was strong, but she discovered that he still had many secrets. "You monster!" The captain screamed in horror and started running away. Allan sneered, and the running captain fell down. "No, don't kill me." Feeling that his life is about to end, the captain begged for mercy. "Elena, this person is a bit useful. You can interrogate him," Allan said. Elena nodded and went toward the captain, asking, "Where did you come from?" "We are from Yorktown," the captain replied truthfully. "Yorktown? How many people do you have there?" "About 300 soldiers." "Where is Helfies?" "He is no longer in Yorktown." "Where is he?" "I don't know. I'm too low ranked to know where Master Helfies is." "Who is the leader of Yorktown?" "It's the Lord Evil Eye." "Evil Eye?" "Yes, Lord Evil Eye is one of the cadres of the Reverse Crusader, and Master Helfies' right-hand man. He should know where Master Helfies is." "Okay, you can die." After finishing her interrogation, Elena took a pistol to shot the captain. Allan glanced at Elena in surprise as he didn't think she would act so quickly. "Mr. Allan, let's go to Yorktown and find this evil eye first," Elena suggested. Allan nodded. "Okay, let go." Since this is the first time for both of them to come to this country, they had to use a map to get to Yorktown. They rode on their camels and proceeded slowly toward Yorktown. "Mr. Allan, it's getting dark. I guess we won't make it today. Let me find a place to spend the night." Allan nodded. Although he doesn't mind rushing at night, Elena couldn't. It was logical to find a place to rest, but it wasn't easy finding somewhere suitable to rest in the desert. Fortunately, they were lucky enough to find a small oasis. It wasn't right to call it an oasis, but it is more like a grassland less than a kilometer long. After sleeping for the night, Elena and Allan continued their journey in the morning. After nearly half a day, the two finally came close to Yorktown. "Mr. Allan, Yorktown is right ahead." Allan nodded and asked, "This is the territory of the Reverse Crusader. Are you afraid?" "I'm not afraid with Mr. Allan here." Allan was quite shocked as he didn't expect Elena to say that. He smiled and said, "Let's go." "Mr. Allan, what are you going to do?" Elena asked. Allan thought for a bit and said, "Although our target is only Hellfies, his organization is also quite evil, so I will eradicate them on the way. After all, I'm a professional hunter. I have to occasionally do something to punish evil to be worthy of my identity." Hearing this, Elena's expression was strange. "Mr. Allan, I sometimes don't understand you, but I support you on this matter. I think the people of this kingdom are oppressed by the Reverse Crusaders. But please be careful and don't underestimate them." "Well, don't worry." Allan also understood Elena's concern. He was quite confident in his strength, but Elena didn't know his full power yet. Soon, the two of them rode their camels to the gate of Yorktown. The said gate was just two huge stone pillars with no door. It was probably due to the wars that the gate got destroyed. The Reverse Crusaders' soldiers were stationed by the gate and quickly discovered Elena and Allan, and dozens of soldiers stopped them. "Hey, some guys aren't afraid of death and came here. They probably don't know that Yorktown is now the territory of the Reverse Crusader." The soldiers looked at Elena before continuing. "The woman is not bad. She looks beautiful. Let's take her and offer her to Lord Evil Eye. As for that man, just kill him." Allan snorted and released his ice, freezing them one after the other. Seeing this scene, Elena sighed in amazement. "Let's go." After killing the soldiers quickly, Allan walked into the town with Elena. The town was devastated by the artilleries, and most of the buildings were severely damaged. This was once a rich town, but after the Reverse Crusader took the town, it became hell. Most of the soldiers who were defending this town got annihilated by the Reverse Crusader, and the rest fled. Allan and Elena rode their camels toward the center of the town slowly. Along the way, Allan killed many members of the Reverse Crusader stationed here. The soldiers would always notice Allan and Elena and approach them before they get killed or interrogated then killed. Every obstacle in the way was cleared by Allan, and Elena witnessed how strong Allan was. She even thought that he was the strongest in the world currently. "No matter how many people come, you can't stop this man," Elena thought. At this time, a soldier launched a rocket at Allan. Allan lifted his hand indifferently, and cold air spread, generating an ice wall. The rocket hit the wall and exploded, but amazingly, the ice wall remained intact. What? He actually blocked a rocket. On the streets, the soldiers who launched the rocket were inside an armored car. "I'm here." Allan raised his hand toward the armored vehicle and said, "Freeze." In the next moment, the vehicle started freezing until it was encased in ice. "Let's go." Allan looked at the dumbfounded Elena and said lightly, "You're really amazing, Mr. Allan." Elena sighed. "It's nothing, just some small fries. There is no danger." After arriving at the center of the town, a group of people appeared in front of Allan and Elena. They were the soldiers of the Reverse Crusader. In front of the soldiers stood two burly men about 3 meters tall. Both held a long axe in their hand and looked quite fierce. From their look, they should have killed many people already. The road was blocked, and Elena and Allan were surrounded. "Where is your boss, Evil Eye?" Allan ignored them and asked. He, this kid actually wants to find Lord Evil Eye. He certainly wants to die. "Sir, let's deal with them." Allan was too lazy to ask again and said, "Let me send you to hell, a bunch of scumbags." Allan drew Shusui from its sheath and said, "Black Storm." With a light wave, a black energy attack spread all over the place and beheaded the soldiers and cut the buildings in half. Even the leaders of the soldiers died. They actually realized that Allan was a monster as soon as he waved his sword, but it was too late. The sword energy passed through several buildings and cut into a palace-like building, and instantly destroyed it. "Damn it, you ruined my palace and killed all my men. I will kill you." A thin figure stood in the distance and stared fiercely at Allan. Although he was short, his body exuded a strong aura. "Oh? You can actually use Nen?" "He is Evil Eye," Elena said. Suddenly, Evil Eye saw Elena and recognized her. "I remember you. You're Elena, the sister of Madame Alice, right?" Hearing Alice's name, Elena became excited and asked, "Where is my sister?" "Madame Alice is, of course, with Master Helfies. She is the angel of our crusader, and except for Master Helfies, no one is above her rank." Elena gritted her teeth and said, "Tell me, where is Helfies? I will kill him personally and rescue my sister." You won't have a chance to see Master Helfies because today, both of you will die here." Evil Eye sneered, but he froze soon after as Allan appeared in front of him. When did he? Before he could activate his ability, Evil Eye saw Allan's Mangekyo Sharingan. To his horror, he appeared in a gray space while kneeling by the edge of a swimming pool. "This is the world of Tsukuyomi. Where is this? Why did it appear here? That guy's eyes." Evil Eye tried to move but found out that he was bound by rope. "You will experience drowning in this pool for 48 hours. Allan's voice was like a death sentence. Evil Eye roared, "What do you want to do? Let me go." "Just keep struggling as you experience death by suffocation." After that, Allan kicked Fierce Eye on the back into the swimming pool. Evil Eye fell directly and struggled desperately to get out, but his body continued to sink down. In the real world, Evil Eye went limp on the ground as he started vomiting and turned pale. He drowned for 48 hours in Tsukuyomi, but it just happened in a mere second in the real world. What happened to Evil Eye? "Mr. Allan, what did you do to him?" Elena looked at Allan, confused. Allan sneered, "I just made him experience death by drowning for 2 days." Elena didn't understand this, but she didn't continue asking. Allan raised Evil Eye and asked him, "Okay, where is Helfies? If you don't answer, I will let you down some more." Evil Eye was so sacred that he quickly said, "He is in Bowl City." "Bowl City? Well, thanks." After obtaining Helfies' whereabout, Allan let Evil Eye go. "Bastard, you are useless now, so go to hell." Elena took her pistol and shot Evil Eye between the eyes. "I knew you wouldn't let him go." Allan wasn't surprised by Elena killing Evil Eye. It doesn't matter for scum like him should be killed. "Okay, let's go to Bowl City next and see how far it is." Hearing Allan's words, Elena took out the map. After 2 days of traveling, Allan and Ellen arrived at Bowl City. Bowl City's buildings were high and looked magnificent, unlike the barren cities they traveled through. "Mr. Allan, Helfies should be inside. I will rely on your one again when we meet him," Elena said. "Don't worry, and I will deal with him," Allan promised. Elena nodded. She didn't doubt Allan's power anymore. The two walked inside casually, but soon the Reverse Crusader discovered them. "You guys are the ones who destroyed the branch in Yorktown, right?" A cadre from the Reverse Crusader glared at Allan. Allan didn't confirm but said coldly, "Call your leader here." "Who do you think you are to see our leader?" the cadre said arrogantly. Usually, for those evil and arrogant small fries, Allan would have taken action without talking BS. Well, this isn't any different from the usual since Allan directly covered his fist with armament hockey and used Saru to flash beside him and killed him with a simple punch. What? Evil Wolf was killed with a single punch? The soldier's eyes widened in shock at Allan's display of power. When the other cadres saw this, their expressions became ugly. Everyone attacked together. Several cadres teamed up and surrounded Allan and released their aura. I will control him first, you find an opportunity to attack him. One of the cadres took the lead, and as he did, a few vines appeared on his hand. Those vines directly moved toward Allan, trying to restrain his hands and feet. A good nen ability, but it's too weak. Although the vines bound Allan, when he released his aura, the vines shattered instantly. What? That's too strong. The cadres looked at Allan with surprise as they realized that Allan was in a completely different realm compared to them. Don't just stand still, fight. A cadre gritted his teeth and shouted before forming a huge fireball in his hand. Allan saw this and sneered before he waved his hand to form a ball of ice that was 3 times bigger than the fireball, which he crushed and froze the cadre who made it. Allan didn't stop but released another attack, and this time, it was to take down everyone. Frozen Storm. The wind roared as a huge storm appeared out of nowhere and froze all the soldiers and cadres of the Reverse Crusader. With Allan at the center, almost the entire city became an ice city. At this moment, Allan saw a man in a black coat riding a monster in the sky. He stared at Allan angrily and said, "Who are you?" "The one who will take your life," Allan sneered. "What arrogance." Helfies snorted coldly and patted the monster's head. The monster opened its mouth and released an energy blast at Allan. Ice wall. The energy blast hit the wall and dispersed with a bang sound. "What? You actually blocked it." Seeing the energy attack was blocked, Helfies directly yelled, and his hand changed into a crimson claw. Blood Claw Blade. Helfies rushed toward Allan, who once again made an ice wall. Ice wall. The hard ice wall shattered due to the Crimson Claw's attack. Oh? Allan didn't panic. Instead, he covered his fist in armament hockey and punched. Helfies attacked using his weird claws. Both attacks collided, releasing a large shockwave before Helfies flew away. Damn it. Helfies released all of his aura, and his body started changing. Helfies had only 50% human genes, and the other half belongs to a monster aura werewolf. After releasing his aura, he became faster and stronger since he transformed into a humanoid monster. In the next moment, Allan and Helfies disappeared, and only the collision between their attacks could be seen from time to time. Nice power, but it is not enough to kill me. After playing for 2 minutes, Allan got annoyed and became serious. Flash step. Allan figures disappeared, and suddenly he was behind Helfies with Yatsufusa piercing the latter's chest. Since he was killed with Yatsufusa, he became Allan's puppet. Where is Alice? She's in the palace. Elena, your sister, is in the palace. Go find her, be careful. Okay, thank you, Mr. Allan. Elena glanced at Allan gratefully and then entered the palace. Seeing Elena going to find her sister, Allan looked at Helfies and ordered him to disband the Reverse Crusader. Since Helfies was a puppet, he naturally obeyed Allan's orders. After disbanding the Reverse Crusader, Allan told Helfies to go and hide for now. Allan turned Helfies into a puppet because he was somewhat strong. Right now, he only had Phaeton and Franklin as puppets, so adding Helfies makes them 3. If there is trouble, Allan could summon them to do his bidding anytime. But since he didn't need them now, he ordered them to hide. Since they are puppets, they didn't need to drink or eat. Although it's not good to mess with the dead, those 3 were demons when they were alive and killed countless people, so Allan didn't feel guilty after turning them into puppets. 2 days later, Allan and Elena left. Elena found her sister successfully, so she said, "Mr. Allan, as promised, I will be your companion in the future." Yeah. Allan nodded, then said, "Elena, although you're my companion, you don't have to go with me and do your thing. I will do the same, and if I needed something, I would call you, and you do the same. You can accompany your sister." "Thank you, Mr. Allan." Elena was extremely grateful as she took her sister and left. After finishing this job, Allan didn't continue taking missions. He was a little tired from being a bounty hunter. A few days later, Allan came to the Heavens Arena and intended to relax for a bit and abuse the new rookies in the Sky Arena. Since the last time he took Isaka's position as a floor master, Allan didn't need to participate in many matches anymore. Allan's return attracted many fighters in the Heavens Arena. After all, Allan defeated Hisaka, and this alone can make 95% of the fighters jealous. Each floor between 220th to the 250th in the Heavens Arena is owned by a floor master, which means including Allan, there are a total of 30 floor masters. And when Allan returned to the Heavens Arena, he wanted to fight. So, he directly issued a letter of challenge to the other 29 floor masters through the official website. However, since most of the floor masters weren't in the Heavens Arena, Allan received 3 responses to his challenge. The floor masters who accepted his challenge were the 227th floor's master, the 235th floor's master, and the 242nd floor's master. Originally, the floor masters can decline the challenge since Allan challenged all of them, but the few who accepted wanted to teach Allan a lesson since they thought he was too arrogant. The arrogance of challenging all of the floor masters was indeed too much for them. A few days later, the day of the battle arrived. This time, Allan challenged 3 well-known floor masters, which attracted quite the attention from everywhere. It can be said that this battle was like a grand event in the Heavens Arena. However, Allan, who was already in the arena, felt a little disappointed that only 3 accepted his challenge. He thought that at least 10 floor masters would accept the challenge, and that is the bare minimum for him to enjoy the fight. Allan didn't really care about the floor masters, actually, and just by looking at the aura they were releasing, he could gauge their basic strength. They weren't weak, to say, but they weren't strong either. For him, they were just small characters that can't make him go all out. Allan didn't plan to finish the fight quickly, as he directly looked at the floor masters and said, "The 3 of you can come at me together. I will give each of you a free attack, but note that it is only one, so grab that opportunity and use your most powerful skill." With Allan's current power, he was pursuing excitement and battle since only a few can make him go all out in the world currently. He didn't want to seem too arrogant, so he will defend against their attacks, or so he thought. But telling the floor masters to attack together and giving them a free attack was already too arrogant. The floor masters were really angry since Allan was looking down on them. "Bastard, don't look down on us. Although you defeated Hisaka, it doesn't mean that you can defeat the 3 of us together," one of the floor masters shouted angrily. "Well then, I will look forward to your performance." Allan smiled calmly. Another floor master said, "Allan, you said you would let each of us attack once, right? But we don't want to take advantage of you, so the 3 of us will attack one after the other and not together." Allan shrugged and said, "It doesn't matter. You do whatever you want." "Then I will go first." The floor master of the 227th floor decided to attack first. "I'm Yan, and I wonder if you heard my name before," the 227th floor's master said. Allan nodded. Although he didn't know of any Yans, he nodded to show his respect. "I will attack you, so be prepared." Yan stared at Allan while he took out his weapon from his back. His weapon was very long and was wrapped in black cloth. Yan took the cloth covering the weapon to reveal a spear that shone with dazzling light. Allan narrowed his eyes slightly as he looked at the spear and said, "A good weapon." The spear was silver in color and seemed pretty sharp. In the Heavens Arena, contestants are allowed to use weapons after reaching the 200th floor. "Let's go, let me see how strong your weapon is," said Allan as he hooked his finger at Yan. Allan's gesture was quite provocative to Yan, who immediately said, "I will use my best ability to defeat you." As Yan said this, his Nen covered the spear like a red coat. He pointed the spear toward Allan and shouted, "Crimson Spear!" Yan threw the spear toward Allan with all of his power. Allan still remained indifferent as the spear approached him. He unhurriedly waved his hand and created a nice wall. In the next second, the spear collided fiercely against the ice wall. The flaming aura covering the flames hit the ice wall and started evaporating it, and finally, the spear managed to make a hole into the ice wall. Oh? Allan was slightly surprised. In the next second, the spear blasted into Allan's body. The spear managed to pierce Allan's body, creating a fist-sized hole. Seeing this, Yan was stunned as he didn't expect that his attack would kill Allan. After a while, he smiled in joy as he was the winner. The audience roared and started cheering. Standing behind Yan, the other floor masters didn't even manage to make a move, and the match already ended. They looked at Allan in disdain. "You aren't even that strong, and you want to actually fight all of us together." The other floor master suddenly looked serious. "You recovered?" "What?" The first one heard this and looked at Allan quickly only to see the hole disappearing from Allan's body and said in disbelief, "What? How can you recover from a hole in your body? What are you two talking about?" Yan wasn't looking at Allan as he was waving at the audience. Hearing the conversation behind him, he couldn't help turn around and look at Allan. His smile froze as he saw that Allan was intact. "What's going on?" Yan's eyes widened as he shouted. He stared at Allan's body and exclaimed, "That's impossible. My spear clearly pierced your body. How did you recover?" Yan couldn't figure this out at all. Allan looked at him. "Are you surprised?" Allan looked at Yan's sullen face and smiled. Yan thought that Allan had a Nen ability that could heal him. Otherwise, he would be dead. Yan once again held the spear and threw it at Allan.